You can see the pain in my laugh. Demons coming back from the past. Feeling like I'm about to relapse. Voices in my head. All I can hear them say is everyone wants me dead. Bitch, I'm already dead. I've been dead for years. My name's Harley Neville. Welcome along to the Guy and Harley podcast.
And I'm Guy Pigden. And who was that?
Well, that was Juice WRLD, and rest his soul, because he's been dead for a couple of years now.
Because he's legitimately fucking dead. I see what you did there. You picked a dead guy rapping about being dead.
Yeah, you got it.
To point out that he is in fact dead now.
Yeah. It's interesting too, because that song came out after his death.
A tragic tale of someone consuming a huge amount of pills all at once to not get arrested for having those pills on themselves.
Yeah,
I believe is what led to his untimely demise.
That's the gist
Hey,
of it.
I'll just swallow them all at once.
Because he was on a plane. On
Yeah.
a plane. Doesn't make sense. He didn't really think that one through.
He certainly did not.
Yeah, well, let us know, listeners at home, if the audio quality is all good. Give us some technical feedback if you're out there. Welcome along to the show after the last show, the one that everybody tuned into, the one that our view time went way up on and got us closer to our monetization goals. It was all a facade. It was all a big trick that we played on you guys. Hey, buddy, and all is well. It was all a big joke. It's all showbiz, people. It's all showbiz. Smokes and mirrors.
This is the post-apocalyptic edition.
Yeah, well, we probably could have called it that, post-apocalypse. But actually, I think that might already be an episode called Post-Apocalypse. Giant Pumpkin NZ says it sounds great, so thank you. Shout out to Sam from the Chris and Sam podcast, and also Tyler's Vids. Tyler, the website creator.
Yeah, and Sam's got a job for me to do that I will be getting to because happy days. I haven't finished actually. I've still got another whole assignment to do. But for this year, I have finished my course for advanced teaching. I'm an advanced teacher, so I need a certificate to prove that I'm advanced at teaching. Mm-hmm. I can't just teach advancedly. Mm-hmm. I need a certificate that actually confirms just how advanced I am at teaching. Mm-hmm. And so over the last few weeks, I've been desperately trying to finish this final assessment, which was painful and laborious. And I finally managed to finish it. What's the day? I finished it on Saturday night, I think. I finished it on Saturday night at 4 a.m. And so... back to the real world.
Did you learn very much?
It's an interesting question. Short answer, no. Didn't learn a fucking thing. Longer answer, I definitely learned, obviously we're breaking down sort of different teaching styles and stuff like that. And so I guess what if I had a huge takeaway from what I learned is I learned the terminology for the techniques of teaching that I employ, which is really totally fucking useless, like completely redundant. Who gives a fuck what you call it? The thing is you got to do it. The doing is the important thing, not whether you know the name, whether it's, strength-based learning or, fucking, I don't know.
You've forgotten them all already.
Oh, I'm just trying to think of a few of that. But, there's a whole bunch of orientation, but yes, they're so boring I've forgotten them already. I only just finished that assignment. But that's really...
Here's hoping none of your future employers are watching.
Well...
Because they'll be like, this certificate is worthless.
Well, it's not the certificate that's worthless. I mean, it's what they're teaching on the certificate that's worthless. I mean, the certificate itself is also worthless if... I think it would be useful if you did not have a very, if you were brand new to teaching and you really had no idea where to start and you're like, I don't even know what to do. I don't know how to write a lesson. I don't know how to do anything. If you're at that stage, some of the things that you learn on it would be beneficial. But fundamentally, a lot of it is, so this is the word for what you do as a teacher. and this is the word for what you do as a teacher. Now you know that word. Would you like to write a 1,500-word essay on that?
How long was this whole course that you had to do?
Well, the course, and again, it's not finished, so like I have absolutely nothing now, but I've been doing it since March. So there's one more sort of module that I have to do. The first module was the history of teaching in New Zealand, which was the most pointless of all of them because we don't really need to know how teaching what they did 100 years ago, what were they taught. That's not really relevant to right now. They didn't have the internet back then. So again, there's going to be a big disconnect between what they're doing 100 years ago when everyone's religious and they're all learning at churches versus a bit more than 100 years ago now, but versus what we're doing now, you know, with the advancement of technology. There's a big disconnect there. It's not like you're really even going to take, like, obviously even the principles of teaching from 100 or 150 years ago have changed drastically, you know, as, you know, education system has evolved and grown. So to know about that stuff is fucking nonsense, really. It's, you know, it's like old fairy tales. I might as well be reading old fairy tales of a time of, you know, okay, that's cool. What does it have to do with me now? Nothing at all.
Well, mate, with the rapid rate of change that technology and society is going through, that'll be true again in 5 years. Or,
It'll be true. Yeah, it'll be true in the course next year when I'm still completing it. It will have changed again. So, yeah, I wouldn't say that there's been that much that I've taken away for it, although I think that it has been interesting to look at how some other cultures' learning differ from the westernized version of, and asking yourself, okay, am I serving those people or am I sort of leaving those people high and dry a bit because I'm not thinking about those? So if I had to say a glimmer of hope in the absolute black abyss of this teaching course, it would be thinking about, you know, cultures other than my own and the application of teaching as it relates to students who might be from those cultures. But like I said, that's a real tiny bit of the whole fucking thing. It was just totally pointless.
Shout out to
Waste of my life.
It'll be worth it because you'll be able to put that on your CV. And
well, only if I do the next bit, which I'm seriously considering not doing. Because this bit was so painful.
Yeah.
You know, in fact, I would say that, like, I've never come closer to giving up on something multiple times than this particular course. Like, I would sit down and go, is this it? Is this the day that I just give up on the whole fucking thing and just write it off because it's so fucking stupid? And I'm just so bored. I'm bored to literal tears by this thing that I have to read. Is it time for me to just go, fuck it? Fuck off with this bullshit. I got better things to do with my time. But each time I said, no, I have to stay the
Stick
course.
It out.
And I have to tattoo hold fast on my knuckles. And grip onto the keyboard as I complete this.
It's quite funny for the savage filmmaker where you have a close up of your hands and you're like refusing to quit editing and it says hold fast on your knuckles. That could work.
It is a good idea. That's a good skit of that for sure.
Yeah. We'll have to argue about whose idea it was. I mean, technically, it was your joke. It was a joke that you made. But, you know, it was my idea to turn it into a show, you see. So
yes,
we're going to go in 8.5 hours more of this. We're going to go in a circle now. And now I do have so we better acknowledge last week's episode. Aside from it being all showbiz, all showbiz, you know, the positives that came out of it were that we have had a conversation off here. Better conversation. We are ultimately, I would say, in a
more
better
constructive
place.
Conversation.
Yeah, a more constructive
Shall
place.
we say?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's the problem. When you have these conversations in front of the audience, you're also like obviously aware of what you're, you know, aware of like who's bettering who, and there's more at stake as opposed to just like an actual conversation. You know, you're forced to react and try and like justify and stuff like that because there's literally 150 of our dearest and nearest friends judging us. Shout out to some of those people who there was a lot of feedback. We didn't actually get most of it. We won't read most of it. We didn't get to, but I did want to read out a couple of little bits here because I said I'd shout these people out. Shout out. So this one is from Christopher Lucar. He says, I've actually been watching the show for a few months now. This is his first time messaging me about it. Watching the show for a few months now, and I'm really enjoying both of you. I've been finding lockdown tough, and it's been helpful to watch something normal Kiwi indie and not ruined by COVID. It's helped, man. Sometimes the only person I speak to is a cat. It's been great to hear some normal Kiwi yarns about an interesting topic. I heard two people who had a long friendship together regarding the fight. I heard two people who had a long friendship together try and talk through their differences in circles for 9 hours. And I understand that you're angry, but I also find it kind of beautiful that neither of you gave up talking to the other and walked away. So, thank you, Chris.
Appreciate that, Chris.
Yep. Welcome to the 5150. That's what we call our listeners. Now it's the 5151.
Well, you can also relate to just talking to your cat on lockdown.
Oh, that's what I said to him. I said, well, shit, man, that was me in 2020, and it wasn't even my cat. It was the neighbour's cat. And
it eventually deserted you.
Yeah, as soon as we went to level 3, the neighbours moved to their holiday home and took the cat with them. And so I was just all on my lonesome.
Talking to yourself.
That's when it got real dark. I didn't even have a cuddle from the cat. It was a beautiful little cat that used to jump through my window every morning and have a wee nap with me. Very friendly little cat. I miss that cat. And then I think this one is from Sam from the Chris and Sam podcast. He says, I could be wrong about that because I didn't write down the name. It might be him. Congratulations on making the longest podcast I've ever listened to. Even though there was a lot of arguing, you kept my attention. Well done on that. I don't even know where to begin. And then first, people's perception is their reality, which means situations can seem different to different people. I agree with both sides of the discussion, which I think means there's no black and white answer. It's a whole lot of shades of grey. And with creativity and who does what and the balancing act of both and different skill sets at work, perhaps it would be bad if you both had the same skill set because you'd be arguing about every little decision. Everyone's goal is different. Everyone's path is different. No point dwelling on the past. And that's all I've got to say, basically. I'm not sure how this will play out for you guys. People can change, goals can change, and I think with personal relationships mixed into the professional relationship, it can be tough. Well, that's true. That's all very true. Possibly Sam. Yep, that was Sam. So yeah, shout out to him, and also shout out to like Liam Hegarty and a bunch of other people that kind of all commented and had things to contribute to that episode. Well, it's a filmmaking podcast.
Yeah, it's a podcast about our lives.
So it is what it is. This is why people tune in. This is why people tune in. They want to see the friendship side of things, or the deterioration of the friendship. It's like a reality show, is what it's like. A shit reality show.
Oh yeah.
No, the crap camera angles. There's only one. No editing.
Yeah. So what else been going on?
Well, I also wanted to shout out to our Facebook listeners because we are now live for the first time ever on Facebook as well as all the other places. And that cost the 5150. Oh, sorry, that cost our Patreon supporters a cool $95 for the year. I got it on special via Restream, a Black Friday special. So thanks to our Patreon supporters. Shout out to all of you guys. It might seem like you're just giving us money for no reason, but actually that's not true. You are directly enabling this podcast. You pay for the hosting, you pay for things like the promotions, and you've now paid $95 for the Restream so that we can go live on Facebook as well. So thank you so much to our Patreon supporters. Link in the description if you'd like to support us on Patreon, and shout out to all of our new Facebook viewers.
Yeah, so who is on the Facebook? Can we even tell?
We'd have to go to the Facebook. We can do that. Nobody's commenting on Facebook yet that I can see. Everyone's commenting on YouTube. If any of our Facebook listeners want to leave Facebook and go to YouTube, that would actually be good for our view time. Go watch it over there, even though we just started it. But we can check that out. What else?
Well, I did want to mention that so there's a new film come out by Ridley Scott. Do you know who Ridley Scott is?
Best known for Aliens.
Yeah, well, Alien. Actually. best known for Alien, but also Blade Runner and American Gangster, and he basically makes 1 to 2 films per year for the last 40 years. But yes, probably his best films ever were Alien, Blade Runner, and can't really beat those two, to be honest. But he has just released a film called The Last Duel.
Aliens? Yep, The Last Duel.
And basically it was like a big $100 million epic which has just bombed at the box office.
Oh yeah, was he the one that got angry at the millennials?
And he got angry at the millennials.
Phones, yeah.
He did. Now also it should be noted that like Ridley Scott is like 84 now. He's not a young man, but he's also a director that has maintained a eclectic and continuous career for 50 years now, pretty much. He also did do Alien Covenant and Prometheus.
I didn't actually hate those. I feel like they were a worthy exploration, and you've just got to accept that it's a wee bit arty. Well, Prometheus, the other one, Alien Covenant, that was the sequel to Prometheus, right?
That's right.
Yeah, I hated that one. The quarantine protocols. You land on a new planet, you're just wandering around with no mask on, then you're wondering why you get infected by aliens. It's not fucking rocket science, is it? Well, it is. It is rocket science. They literally got there with rockets, probably, maybe. So how the hell did they get all the way there and not think maybe we need to have a little bit of quarantine on this planet?
Yeah, I saw quite a good breakdown of why those two films were quite good, actually, and we should reassess them. And one of the ideas behind it was essentially, we'd find out the origins of the aliens, and then we found out the origins were kind of fucking boring. They were just these big giant dudes.
Humanoid.
These big giant humanoid dudes that kind of sparked life on the world. And it's like, well, okay, cool. Well, fucking whatever.
Yeah.
What's that got to do with the price of fish, mate?
Yeah.
And so
I did like the idea of panspermia.
Right.
Panspermia. I did like that idea.
Yeah, so... And then the idea was that Ridley Scott realized this after making Prometheus and was like, yeah, okay, cool, fuck all that stuff. We're gonna nuke all those people at the beginning of the next one, and we're gonna start with a clean slate. I really just want to talk about the androids up to hijinks because that's the stuff that I really like, as referenced by the original Alien and also the Blade Runner first film. So I thought that was kind of interesting.
Shout out to my auntie Leanne on the live stream.
Shout out to Leanne. Anyway, he said that Disney did a fantastic promotion on the job and the bosses loved the movie, but Scott pinned the blame squarely on millennials. I think it boils down to what we've got today are that the audiences who are brought up on these fucking cell phones. The millennial do not ever want to be taught anything unless you're told it on a cell phone.
Such a classic, like, out of touch old person thing, or just old person perspective to have. It's like, it's not the cell phone. I mean, cell phones are just the convenient part. We also learn on computers and TVs.
But our attention span has definitely diminished.
Yeah, I was watching something about that like yesterday, and it was actually saying that, because there's this thing around that we've got a shorter attention span, but actually it's not a shorter attention span in terms of your ability to concentrate on something for a set amount of time. It's actually that you're much easier to be distracted because you've got so many options.
That's right.
You've got the world in your pocket.
Yeah.
And so why would you sit there and actually pay attention to taking a shit in the bathroom?
So yeah, like why would you watch The Last Duel when you can whip out your cell phone and have a little scroll through Trade Me, see what's going on, see if there's any good deals on.
Yeah.
So I kind of, like, I'm not hating on his point of view, but I think that he's got it wrong in the sense that the issue isn't the cell phones specifically, although that is an issue. Like,
well, it's dumb to say it's millennials though specifically.
Well, the millennials
to call us out.
But what I'm saying, but even that, like, to me, that's fair because we are more like my girlfriend. I will tell my girlfriend off when she gets her phone out when we're watching a movie. But then I will also do the same thing sometimes, and she'll tell me off, and I'll be like, "No, it's different because I have to check because these bids are ending now.
Yeah.
So it's way different. It's not the same as what you're doing when you're just scrolling for a laugh." So anyway, the point is that we are doing this thing that is problematic if you're wanting people to sort of invest in like I think there is an erosion of the value of movies, like across multiple things. Like there's an erosion because we've got more movies than ever before and they're easier to make and there's just more of them, you know, like a movie can't be an event if 50 other movies came out that same week. You know, whereas it used to be one or two. Well, that's a big deal.
Well, it's true, right? The watering down of the amount of content out there. You know, there's so much more.
And then that also comes with a, you know, that being spoilt for choice, but also then there's no value in the choice. I didn't like that. I'll just choose something else in 5 minutes. Whereas before it's like, I've invested in this.
I've driven down here.
I drove to the store. I got out the DVD. I brought it back. We've got to watch this.
No, this night at the cinema has cost me $65.
We have to watch this thing. So I do think there is something around that. And I do also think, and, you know, I think you'll have my back on this one.
Okay.
Marvel movies, which he also, I think, bashes at some point, and also, you know, as has Scorsese before them. But
these guys must be listening to the Guy and Harley podcast.
Marvel movies are a problem in that they are the only event movies nowadays that people come out in droves to go see.
Yeah.
And there's very few what you would call, and this is what you would call a prestige picture, which is sort of like, you know, it used to be, you know, they would release Lawrence of Arabia and we'd all go see it like a Marvel movie. But now we only go see Marvel movies like a Marvel movie. And then most people go, like, what's that? Oh, I got some, you know, like, there's no superheroes. There's no, it's, you know, medieval shit. Oh, no, it sounds like too much work for me. It's just too hard basket. I'm out. Or like you know, my favorite example is always The Godfather was the highest grossing film of all time at one point in time. I don't think The Godfather would make a tiny dent at the box office today because it's so far away from what we now consider kind of a successful studio picture. So what I'm saying is Ridley Scott is 100% right.
About that batch. Or about the millennials as well.
I guess, no, it's not so much millennials as like really everyone.
Yeah, he's right about Marvel. I'll give him that.
But that's what I'm saying is like, I do think there's a problem there. I think he's just pinpointed the wrong thing, which is cell phones specifically and millennials. He needed to go broader with it.
Yeah.
He needed to say what I just said. And then everyone would be hailing him as a genius.
Everyone would understand all of a sudden.
Yeah, he needed it. So just that's for your future reference, Ridley. You just need to say what I just said when anyone queries you over that original quote.
Yes, it is live. Bradley Bacon, welcome to the show. This is live. Live. Speaking of Trade Me, I'm going to have to be on Trade Me quite a bit more because today I got some bad news about my warrant of fitness on my vehicle. I went in there and I've never had any problems with this car. And then they said, oh, you've got a rusty, you know, who's it up in your Watsu? And I was like, oh, shit. And so I went along to a mechanic and he was like, oh yeah, the old Nissan Cubes and Nissan Marches, when they get, I've got a Nissan Cube, when you get to this age, they didn't rust proof them properly when they were making them, and so a lot of them get rusty at around this age, and it's really just a losing battle from then on. You're just kind of, you know, like fighting the rust, and there's always kind of something giving out. And I was like, okay, that's a concern. So I went along to I went along to a panel beater. He needed me to go back to the VTNZ to get it checked. So anyway, I went back and the VTNZ guy was also like, oh yeah, this is just like the Nissan Marches. They get rusty and blah, blah, blah. So there was two separate people that told me the same thing. And I was like, that's a bad sign.
Can't be a conspiracy anymore.
No.
You know, there's too many people colluding right now over this piece of information. He couldn't have rung up that guy because he didn't know I was going to that guy.
No, he didn't.
So this must be a true thing.
Yeah.
It's not a conspiracy. It's not a government conspiracy.
You see, guys, it's that easy to debunk conspiracies. or you anti-vaxxers.
Yeah. So just for reference, Germany, Austria, the Netherlands, Australia, and New Zealand are not all colluding together in making these similar choices about vaccine mandates and stuff. They're trying to stop a pandemic. I got bad news.
So maybe if you guys could,
it's bad news for that one.
If you guys could pull your head in and get on side, that'd be good.
Yeah.
So I went to the panel beater And he was like, yeah, well, because where it is actually like in the engine bay type thing. It's up in there. It's on the firewall, it's called. It's the bit between the engine and the cabin in order to stop you catching on fire if the engine does. And it's got rust on it. And so he was like, yeah, well, look, it's in a real bitch of a place to get to. You'd basically have to take the engine out.
Yep.
And, you know, we're going to be on an hourly rate. So we got to take the engine out and then we've got to do the rust. And then we've got to put the engine back in.
Yeah.
And I was like, And he was like, so I think we're looking, you know, he was like, it's hard to say without having a proper poke around, but it could easily be $1,000 just to get the engine out. You know, so I was like, So it could easily end up costing me like a couple of grand. And this car cost me $3,000 3.5 years ago. And so it's like, well, maybe I'm in the market. Maybe I should just get in the market for a new Nissan Cube. Just get the updated, you know, the 2015 or the 2016. But the problem with those is they're up around the 8,000 to 12,000 kind of mark. So might be hitchhiking. If you guys see me out there hitchhiking, make sure you give me a ride, okay?
I knew one day that buying a mum car would backfire on you.
Well, I wouldn't say it's really backfired. If it cost me $3,000 and if I sell it for $1,500 and it lasted me for 3.5 years with no nothing, like all I did was I just got the oil changed every now and then and stuff like that, but no major expenses, a couple of tires at one point. I would say that, you know, $1,500 or so for more than 3 years, I'm pretty happy with that. That's you know, I'm quite happy with that maths. And now I can buy a Tesla. So I'll head on down to the shop. I think they're about 75,000 ish. Maybe that's American. I'm not sure. Anyway, I'll go down and get myself a Tesla instead.
Well, at least take one for a test drive.
Yeah.
Entertain the idea.
Well, the problem is that if I ordered a Tesla right now, I wouldn't actually get that car for potentially 6 or 8 months, you know, or more.
Really?
Yeah, because Tesla has sold every car it's ever made, and they're now there's a huge backlog that they've got too much demand, not enough supply. So they're deliberately putting their prices up, not specifically to make more money, but to reduce the demand, because there's no point in being, you know, in having somebody order a car and having them wait 1.5 years or 2 years to get it. So to reduce the demand, they've increased their prices. That's it's crazy. Tesla, get out and buy it, people. Link in the description if you want to join Sharesies or Stake. Buy the stock; it's still good.
Yeah. Well, I guess you're in the market for a new car then.
Yeah. So I'll be trawling through TradeMe, no doubt, trying to get all that sorted out. How do we look today? God, I can't really be fucked. I don't want to buy a new car. I don't care about cars. I just want a car that works.
You don't want to do any thinking. You don't want to do any legwork. You don't want to do any research. You don't want to do any of the things that are involved in purchasing a car.
No, well, it'd be different if it was something that I was really excited about, you know, if it was something that if I really cared about cars, you know, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to get the new one with the who's it and the, you know, the bloody blah. But really for me, I'm like, well, cool, man. Cars are just a depreciating asset. They as soon as you buy them, they go down in value, and you know, they're just kind of wearing out every day. And I don't really care if people think I'm cool when I drive past. I think they think I'm cool anyway when I drive past in my Nissan Cube. I assume they see me and say, that guy must have a huge dick. Look how confident he is.
Roll out in the mum car.
Yeah. Got the dad vibes.
Picture me rolling.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, good luck with that.
Shout out to Jeremy Zinsley and Richard Lambeth on the live stream. That's great to see you guys there. Jeremy on the Facebook. It's good. See, this Facebook thing was an excellent investment. Hopefully, I may or may not have a little bit of new work at a radio station. There's nothing really to report yet, but that may or may not be happening sometime soon. It's sounding quite promising that I'll have a bit of work as a technical producer in the radio, so that'll be good as we head into the traffic light system, straight into a job.
Yeah, well, the traffic light system is coming up this week, I believe. Isn't it? Friday?
Yeah, well, I think, bars and stuff are opening on the 3rd, which I think is Friday, yeah.
So we're into the traffic light system. Auckland is in red traffic light, which means...
stop.
If you're not vaccinated, stop. Stay at home.
Mm-hmm.
Don't endanger anyone.
Yeah.
Don't endanger anyone with your selfish beliefs, please.
Yeah.
Keep your selfish beliefs to yourself at home.
Yeah.
Where they belong.
That's a big red light on that one. Well, these entitled, arrogant imbeciles claiming that their ignorance is as good as an expert's knowledge. And that's a completely baseless, groundless statement built on wind and nothing more. And it boggles my mind. Can you imagine walking up to a doctor and saying, I know more about health than you? You would never do that. But if you're on Facebook, hey, no problem, I'll do that.
It's weird too, because it's like, if you get diagnosed with cancer tomorrow, and they go, we're going to start you on a serious round of chemotherapy. You go, okay, what are my odds, doc?
Yeah.
And then he goes, well, look, I'm not sure. Obviously, some people recovered. We don't ever say fully recovered, blah, 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 whatever, right? And you go, you literally say, hook it into my veins.
Yeah.
Hook it into my veins and get this out of me.
Not if you're Steve Jobs, you don't.
And look what happened to Mr. Jobs.
Well,
and you know what? One of the things that he said, they're like, do you have any regrets? Yeah. And he goes, yes.
Alternative medicine.
Yes, essentially he said that. He was like, look, one of my regrets is seeking alternative treatment for so long prior to the real treatment.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is like, we're not questioning, which, essentially this is something that's poisoning your body to, kill cells in your body. And yet we're now going, but the what's in the vaccine though? What's in that?
Yeah.
What the fuck is in anything, man?
Well, I know.
Fuck's sake.
I know.
Fuck's sake, you're amateur.
I know a vaccine hesitant person doesn't want to get the vaccine because doesn't know what's in it and doesn't know what the reactions will be.
Yeah.
And yet, while we have these conversations, sometimes she is sitting there having a cigarette. And it's like, we may not know we do know what's in the vaccine.
We do know.
You might not know what's in the vaccine, but you also do know what is in that cigarette. And like, the vaccine could have could have bad side effects. Smoking definitely has bad side effects. It's proven. There's no getting around it. There's no denying it. So it's weird. But yeah, I mean, obviously this is an offensive generalization, and I truly don't mean all of them, because there are different people who have different reasons and for being anti-vax or being hesitant. And I understand some of to a degree. I understand it, and obviously I disagree. With
what ones do you understand? Well, what are the points of view where you're like, okay, I see where you're coming from there.
Part of me understands the bit that says you can't force me to do anything with my body.
Yeah.
So like, I don't think that someone should be able to come in and forcibly give me the vaccine, obviously. But of course, that's not what we're asking people to do. We're simply saying, if you want to stay here in level 3 with the level 3 restrictions, you can. If you don't want to, you can get the vaccine. And everybody's got a choice. And these guys are choosing to stay in level 3 with the level 3 restrictions. That's their choice. That's up to them. I get the idea, though, behind this idea that, feel like being forced and pressured to do things. But on the other hand, I don't really care that much, because I look at history and I go, man, there's so many times when the population gets forced to do things for the greater good of the population, then it just has to be done. It's just the way it is. It's the way civilization functions. And if you're not a part of it, then you're just a fucking leech. You're a killer heaving on the chains around society's pillars. And so... yeah, I really feel like some of these people are sort of the dullest of the dull. People that are alive. When I'm looking on Facebook, it's never the smart people. It's never my smart friends that are posting the anti-vax thing. It's always the same people that were posting like 9/11 conspiracy bullshit and other dumb things.
Yeah.
And it's like, these are the ones that are alive solely because of society's safety nets. But in evolution, these are the individuals that evolution would punish. And in fact, evolution will punish if they catch the virus.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, and of course, we're all sort of looking forward to vaccine passports and that good vax life.
I'm due for my booster in next month.
And then all of a sudden, what should come out of the woodwork? Omicron Prime.
Yeah.
Which, does sound like a transformer and might be, but is also a new strain, and we are, so this is good. This is a good one of these time capsule moments, right? Because we're talking
this show is full of those moments.
We're talking about this Omicron variant, which some people are like, there's some serious cause for concern here. and other people are like, it's too early to say if there's a serious cause for concern. You know, one of the things that a lot of people have done is it seems to have originated in South Africa, and we seem to now be closing our borders, as in the rest of the world, to South Africa in an attempt to mitigate this new strain.
And South Africa is a little bit salty about that, from what I read as well.
Yes.
Because it's like, well, we're being punished for
telling you guys.
For robust science that found this and announced it as soon as possible.
Which is a valid, statement.
Yeah, sort of.
But
also
not.
If you've got an infectious disease, people have got to stay away from you. Sorry.
But yeah, so essentially, and now that's 2 people from Australia brought it over to Australia. Some people in the UK have been found with it. So it is kind of maybe getting out and about there. But we just don't know quite enough about it to know that whether or not it's, major. So yeah, Richard says WHO have said that although Omicron is very transmissible, it is likely far less dangerous than Delta. In which case, we're all good.
He doesn't say that. He states that it's not likely. He says it is far less, with capitals, dangerous than Delta. Now, here's the thing about that, though, is...
according to the research so far.
Well, according to Richard's research so far, because...
The limited research.
An hour and a half ago,
yeah,
the Prime Minister of New Zealand was on national television doing the live stream.
Well, you can't believe what the government tells you, Harley.
And she was like, yeah, so basically it's too early to know whether we just don't have enough information at the moment about a number of things. And amongst those things was she does not know if it's overall like a worse or a more mild variant in terms of how it affects the human body. So an hour and a half ago, Jacinda Ardern, the Prime Minister of New Zealand, did not know, and yet Richard Lambeth on the live stream, he has the inside scoop.
Well, he's getting the info from WHO is reporting, and they are the World Health Organization.
But why would Jacinda not have read what the World Health Organization?
Maybe she hasn't read that WHO article yet.
Yeah. Or maybe Richard's been reading some Facebook headlines, some Facebook articles.
Well, I think we're all probably just a little, we're jumping on this. Is it the new thing? Because I guess what's depressing to me is that, being trapped in New Zealand is not like a long-term great thing.
Yeah.
Like, I'll live with it.
I just realized we better play the intro. Jab Chat.
That's true. We're into Jab Chat now. It's not a long-term, like, if you said to me, you can never leave the shores of New Zealand again for your own safety, I'd go, damn, ever?
Yeah. There's a lot of things that we haven't seen and done and had done to us.
I never got to go to Thailand. You went there twice.
I went there 3 times.
Oh, yeah.
I went there 3 times. I went once for work, once for a holiday, and once for a wedding.
Is that how you've phrased it now? You didn't just go 3 times to get...
What, guy?
To visit the red light district.
Well, I did visit the red light district, and I did see a ping pong show while I was there. It was quite disgusting, to be really honest. I held up a balloon, and she shot a pin out of a straw from her nether regions, and it popped the balloon. But I wasn't really that cool with it. I was like, yeah, this is gross. All of this is all of this is actually quite gross, and I'm worried about getting shot in the eye with a vagina pin. So I didn't spend too much time in there.
Well, anyway, you'll never again get to return.
No. Well, the thing is, I've been there 3 times anyway.
So
my intention wasn't to go.
You would go somewhere else.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So Richard says the mental health toll is getting worse than the death toll.
It's a subjective, that one.
Yeah, see, I always kind of disagree with this because, like, look, on the one hand, obviously, if your mental health is terrible, then you might kill yourself, which is just the same thing, right, as dying from the virus, right? So, okay, sure. But I do really feel like I would rather be really depressed than dead. And obviously up until the point where I'm so depressed I wish I was dead.
Yeah, then you change your mind.
And then I flip that. But for, in terms of like mentally health speaking, I would still rather have the option of life than that be taken away from me due to COVID. So I'm still and actually on this topic, of course, on this topic, I normally go and travel down to Dunedin to see my family on Christmas. I don't get to see my family that often. It's a sacred time to sort of reconnect and enjoy each other's company. Well, that ain't happening.
But why? You can leave Auckland, can't you?
I can indeed, Harley.
Yeah.
And I asked that very question. But why? Why can't I? We
Yeah.
could leave on December 16th or 18th.
And
or
your
whenever it
parents
is.
were like, you're not welcome around here anymore.
That's exactly what they said.
They were literally like, you can't come from Auckland to
They
here
were
because we
like-
were too worried about COVID.
They were like, we're sorry.
Yeah.
You're too much of a COVID threat.
Yeah.
We're sorry, but we can't risk
Yeah.
having you come down here
Yeah.
and give people COVID.
Yeah.
And so
Well,
I've been banned from Christmas.
That is, that's sort of crazy, right? I mean, on the one hand, it's very sensible, and you can also see, because basically what's going to happen here is Aucklanders are going to be all leaving Auckland over Christmas, and the virus is going to end up. There's just I don't see any way around it. The virus is going to end up in a bunch of new places.
Yeah, it's weird.
And it's going to be infecting their friends and family and loved ones, their closest people.
We're almost saying Auckland is bringing the virus to you on December 18th.
18th? Oh, yeah.
Whenever it is. It's like, don't worry, guys. You've heard about the virus. You've read about the virus. You've thought about this lockdown. You'll be getting a taste soon enough as Aucklanders disperse, carrying with them the virus.
Yeah. But the thing about that, right, is that that just means that you're banned from Christmas for life now until you move home, because Delta's not going anywhere, or like Delta might, but the virus ain't going anywhere for quite some time, presumably. So,
well, that was my argument.
You're like, Mom!
So I was like, Mom, this is not fair. I don't have COVID. This is not fair. I'm double vaccinated, Mom. Double vaxxed. You can't do this to me. Don't put me in my room. Is basically what I was like. But
nobody puts Piggy in the corner.
But my sort of argument was like, I don't see what the difference is going to be now and in my birthday next year, because actually more people are going to have COVID in my birthday next year. It's going to be way more, even in Auckland. If we're just saying if I'm the risk, well, it's going to be rampant in Auckland
it's going to be worse.
in May, whereas actually there's a way, I am double vaccinated. I can take a test just before I leave. And I think there's actually much less of a chance of me bringing it now than as time goes by.
Yeah.
That was my argument, and they said no.
They were like, thank you, but your case has been heard, but no, thank you.
And also, look, I don't want to say, I was like, look, I respect, I'm pissed off because I wanted to come down for Christmas, but I also understand where you're coming from, and it's not also these aren't just a bunch of healthy people that I'm going down to potentially visit. This is someone that can't be vaccinated, which is my sister's son, right? So I could give him COVID, and he's got no protection against that. And then 2 at-risk people due to their chronic asthma. So they are they are what you would call high-risk cases. So. It's not that I don't sort of see the point of view, but it's more like I kind of feel like, okay, but I'm never coming coming back then if we're going by this logic. And, she was like, well, when COVID's about everywhere, then that just is what it is.
Well, it is true that we are only now going into the green light system, and that it isn't really very bad in Dunedin yet.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Dunedin is kind of the utopia. Right, that we
always has been, my friend.
We had
always has been.
We had the 18 months of utopia here, but then Auckland, the dream came crashing down. And it's funny because I'm talking to my friends over in London, and shout out to Naomi over in London who occasionally listens to the podcast. But she's like, oh yeah, I would feel sorry for you, except we did that for a year. And I was like, yeah, true. I mean, you don't care. Why would you care? You've done it. You've been there. You've done it. You bought the T-shirt. So it's just kind of interesting. But Dunedin is like unscathed. They've had no cases down there. And I'm sure that they're feeling, they go about their day. We haven't gone to work in 100 days now.
Yeah.
Whereas they have legitimately just been going about their business the whole time.
Yeah.
So I'm not a hater, but I did just think it was funny that we as the premier conversationalists about COVID, the premier podcast that deals with and talks about COVID. The best podcast, certainly in New Zealand, maybe the world that discusses COVID, that I myself have been banned due to COVID.
Well, speaking of COVID, last week you said that your significant other possibly had encountered COVID.
Yep.
While across the Auckland border, outside the Auckland border.
Yeah.
And so what's the update there?
She doesn't have COVID.
Well, that's good news. Good news all round.
Just hay fever,
Cheers
guys.
to that.
Just hay fever.
Right.
Don't worry about it. No big deal. Yeah.
Well, that's good. Well, I am currently producing a short film, and I've been doing location recce's and crewing and casting and auditions and all of that stuff. And I've found my location. So I'm filming in January, late January, and I've found my location. I've booked it in. Well, actually, I'm going to book it in after this show. I'm going to make the official booking, but I found it. It's perfect.
Which is where? What is it?
It's apartments in Devonport. So it's because this story centers around an apartment block with 3 separate families living one above each other.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're in the same building, and stuff that happens on the 3rd floor affects people, on the 2nd floor and so on, and on the 1st floor. And so we need these 3 apartments, but it's actually quite hard to find apartments to film in because people live in apartments usually. During, especially when there's a housing crisis. And so, but actually I found this place, and another blessing of COVID, hallowed be thy name. The Airbnbs are all struggling, of course. And so these 3 are Airbnbs, but
Right.
I knew a guy that knew the building manager.
All in a row? Like that?
No, we're going to
Just
pretend.
populated around the same.
Yeah, the same, one location though, that's the point, right? One location, so no moving. All 3 rooms are in the same building, so that's all 3 apartments are in the same building, so that's nice and easy. And they look like each other, but they look different enough that they're obviously a different apartment as well. And that's obviously a lot easier than having to dress and redress the same apartment 3 times. So I'm quite happy about that. And also been doing some auditions. Young Richard Lambeth from the live stream, he has auditioned, and he sent in a great audition. No decisions have been made yet, but. It's looking positive, Richard. Just say that it's looking positive.
Man, you're really going to break his heart.
Well, it's true. Like if someone comes along, but so far, Richard is in the lead for that one.
Premier athlete, Richard Lambeth.
Yeah. So keeping in mind, it is not up to me ultimately. It is up to the director who he chooses. So it's not me picking my mate Richard. It's the director who's never met him, watching his excellent audition and saying, "I like that guy. I like the cut of his jib."
Yep. So
well done, Richard. In other acting-related news, I'm still waiting to hear, but I have it on good authority that Shortland Street are considering rebranding to Short Bald Street, and I've checked my availability. And so we
fuck them and the checking of availability. Fuck those guys.
It is quite annoying. They're like, "Are you available for this date?" "Yes, I'm available." "Cool, we don't need you."
Cool story.
Just wondering. We're just checking.
So annoying.
They asked on Friday if I was available, and I haven't. And I kind of thought I'd hear on Monday.
Yeah.
And it's now the end of Monday, and I haven't heard anything, and that's a bad sign. That's not a good sign. So it's a shame because I thought that I was. I had a lucky feeling about that one. It's not over yet. It ain't over until the fat lady sings.
Yeah.
But I can hear her warming up her throat.
Yeah, you can hear her doing vocal exercises.
Mm.
Yeah, I still really have a problem with that whole thing. The whole "are you available?" just kidding thing. It really doesn't sit well with me as a strategy.
Yeah. Well, it is quite annoying.
It's a little bit wrong.
Obviously, I'm waiting, and it's quite a long shoot period as well. It's several weeks before Christmas and several weeks after Christmas. So it's like, "Are you available for all of these times?" And I'm like, "Yep, sure." But now, if anybody else asks me if I'm available for those times, I'll have to obviously,
what do you
lie
do?
to somebody.
What do you do? Now, I was just having this conversation about professional practice. What people sometimes do is they have a cancellation fee. That's what you should charge Shortland Street, a cancellation fee. You go, cool, yes, I am available. And just so you know, now that you've asked me that and I have made myself available, if you choose not to book me, there is a cancellation fee of $500. So, just keep that in the back of your mind. Obviously, I'd prefer you didn't cancel, but there you go, because my time is valuable, and that's...
Not that it takes me any time to reply to the email and say, yes, I am available.
Well, yeah, but you're making room.
Well, it's true. I am making room. I'm a busy man. I'm making room in my busy schedule. I do hope I get that. Could happen, and it would be quite good timing. Traffic light system, straight into a nice roll on the telly. Then I produce then I shoot we shoot this film I'm producing next month. Robert's your father's brother. Now, the big problem with this short film that I'm doing is that it's all in Mandarin, and the director of photography they both speak English, but they're native Mandarin speakers, and obviously they're going to be probably communicating more often in their native language. Yeah. So I'm trying to crew basically an entirely Mandarin speaking crew, and the story is told in Mandarin for the most part. There's little known fact, Richard Lambeth is fluent in Mandarin. There's only one English speaking, there's only one white guy in it, and then everybody else is either bilingual or speaking Mandarin. And so I'm trying to find a Mandarin-speaking crew because there's going to be a Mandarin-speaking cast. The director and the director of photography are already speaking Mandarin. So I'm kind of working away on that. And the other thing is that there's an 8-year-old boy character. So I need to find a Mandarin-speaking 8-year-old boy who can act. So if anybody knows any 8-year-old boys who can speak Mandarin and can act, you just slide into my DMs. And so, yeah. That's where I'm about at on that wee project there. It's called Dubai.
Not Dubai.
Not Dubai. Dubai. Yeah.
Interesting.
I have secured my my makeup artist. I normally have our go-to, Julie, who I would normally choose for everything, but I do happen to know a Mandarin-speaking makeup artist who I've worked with before, so I was like, okay, that's perfect. And now I'm finding the first AC and a gaffer to help.
We've got a gaffer.
Well, maybe not. It might just be a second AC. Yeah. We'll see. And so it's going either way though. I'm on the trail of some Mandarin speakers, and so the only non-Mandarin speaking crew member I've had to ask so far is the art director, because I was trying to find an art director. I don't know any Mandarin speaking art directors, so I've sent the script to another guy that I know. So it might just be him and me and Richard talking English on the set.
I'm sure that will...
Not to get your hopes up, Richard. I'm honestly not in charge of that.
I went out and did some filming yesterday. So I, quite spur of the moment. Well, I can't remember if we quite got to this story last week or whether it got cut off with a 9-hour argument. But my camera that my beloved Blackmagic Cinema camera, Pocket 6K Pro, died on me in the middle of a shoot.
Shit. This new big job where you're the director of photography.
Big job, high-paying shoot.
Yeah. And the camera just died halfway through a shoot.
Like less than halfway through.
Shit.
Everything was going fine, and then it just would not turn back on.
Yeah.
It just no matter what would not turn back on.
Yeah.
Swap out everything, nothing. Now, fortunately, it's the film gods. It's all about the film gods. The film gods smiling on you, or are they like, fuck you today? Today we're gonna fuck with you today.
Yeah.
We're gonna remind you of how hard filmmaking is today. That's their two defaults. Yeah. That you get away with it, and you go, oh, thank the blessed be to the film gods, thank you. And then other times they go, no. You're gonna pay a price to the film gods today. The film gods are taking you down today. And so fortunately for me, I called up the place where I purchased the Pocket 6K from, Photo Gear. So shout out to Photo Gear, free advertisement. They're quite good actually. Although I did, no, I'm not going to get into that.
You're not going to get into
I was going to give them a shout out, and then I was going to disrespect them.
Yeah, and you decided to just leave it at the shout out.
Just leave it at the shout out.
Just take the high road.
I'll leave it at the shout out. I wasn't happy with their service earlier today, but never mind. So anyway, I basically called them up and I was like, "Hey, my camera's broke." They go, "Oh, let's just check if it's under warranty." And they're like, "Oh, yep, yes it is. Yes, it's definitely under warranty because it's 6 months old." Which is way too early for a fucking camera to be breaking down mid-shoot. I mean, let's be fucking real. This is not a cheap camera. This is not a dinky...
What's one of those thing, yeah?
$4.5 grand?
Yep.
So it's not something that you just,
Shout out to our Patreon supporters that bought that for us.
Yeah, it's not fucking chump change, right? It's not a cheap and cheerful camera, really. I mean, I guess within the cinematic world, it's still considered a cheap camera, but... you still expect a camera like that to last more than 6 months. And so anyway, it broke down in the middle of my shoot and I was like, holy fucking shit. Because I did have a spare camera. That's how prepared I am. I literally had a whole spare camera that I could have just pulled out. But I was sort of like, I want to keep the consistent look that I've been getting with this camera.
Yeah, so you're like, that's it, guys. Go home, everybody.
So forget about it, guys. I know,
I've got another camera.
I'm still charging for the whole day, but we can't go any further.
And this is a documentary, so we can't recreate this later.
So anyway.
It's open heart surgery documentary. You're like, sorry, guys.
It's dead, and I don't want to shoot with a different camera because that will change the visual consistency.
Stitch him back up. Stitch him. We'll cut him open again on Monday.
I hate it when the visual consistency is all out of whack. It's not worth it, guys. How much is this shoot costing? Don't worry, absorb the cost. We'll do it again. Anyway, so actually what I did is I called up Photo Gear and they were like, we have a Pocket 6K, that we have for rental, which you can have for free.
Yeah.
So that's what so I came and got it. Yeah. Frantically raced over there and got it and shot with it and no dramas. But it was definitely a bit of a dicey situation. And so yesterday I did a skit which was a eulogy for the Pocket 6K, where I sort of discussed the highs and lows of the times we had, which meant that our DOP friend and us, we drove to the cemetery and filmed at the cemetery. And, it was one of those things where you're like, we're filming at a cemetery. I'm gaffer taping on this piece of paper of my lines to the back of this headstone. It's an old headstone, 1894, so I feel like people won't be offended, but,
no.
I don't know.
The corpse is totally gone by now. It's just dirt under there now.
But,
dirt can't get offended.
Dirt can't get offended, and that's what I would have said if anyone had come up to us. But again, I don't know if that may have given offense, even that statement in itself.
Calling their loved one dirt.
Dirt can't get offended, guys. There is no God. There's no one looking down on us, guys, so you don't need to worry. I'm within my rights to tape this script onto the back of this gravestone.
Yeah.
And so anyway, we did that, and I was like, it was one of those situations where I was like, this is either going to go totally smoothly and great, or it's going to go all wrong from the very, everything's going to go wrong, And so the first thing we drove there, it was closed. But it wasn't actually closed. The gates were closed for COVID. You could still walk in, and it said as such on the gate. It was like, okay, so let's drive around to a bit where we can actually get to. Is this bit going to be the shitty area, or is it going to be the real cinematic area? Okay, it just happens to be the real cinematic area. And then it was like, cool, is someone going to come along and rage at us for doing this thing? No, it's very quiet. Okay, is traffic going to ruin this? No, this lapel mic that I've decided to use is kind of cutting out all the traffic noise. And it was just one of those things where kind of everything, I do like those things where you take a bit of a gamble. You're like, am I really doing this properly? With permissions and things? No, not really. But it's indie filmmaking. This is indie filmmaking. Rolling up to a place, getting out, trying to shoot it real quick, hoping that no one goes, what the fuck are you doing? And then being on your way. And then getting this beautiful vista of this giant cemetery, with the, me in the middle of it, And so, it all worked out. The film gods were smiling on me. And I said a prayer and I said, thank you very much.
It's because you paid your dues with that other one.
What, when it broke down, you
when it
mean?
broke down. So it all
so
kinda
they throw me a
evened
bone.
out.
Me a bone, yeah.
Jason P. Diddy Combs is watching it from a bar, but he's watching with the sound off. He's just looking at our beautiful faces. So, hello to Jason Combs. He can't hear us, Jason P. Diddy Combs, but he can see us.
Yeah, if Omnicron keeps places shut, we can never go to Savannah to catch up with Jason and see this beautiful area where all these films come to shoot.
Yeah, because he gave us a scoop the other day. Do you remember what film that was again?
I think it was the reboot of The Exorcist.
Yeah, and they're filming it at Savannah.
Yeah.
Yeah, inside scoop there. Maybe we shouldn't have said his name. That's right, he can't hear us. He's not listening. He's in a bar. Well, back to the Mandarin thing just quickly. Ashley Pittman on the live stream does point out rightly that I do actually know Mandarin.
Yeah.
So here's my Mandarin. Here we go. 我第一次见到你，我就爱上你了。我想永远和你在一起。该你愿意嫁给我吗？
And I always also speak Mandarin.
Yeah. And what's the answer?
You said, you asked if you would, if I would marry you. And I suppose
the answer is yes.
Yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful. Right here on the show. You saw it here on the show. It's the show after the last show, people. This is how it works. It's like a forest fire rips through the forest and it's all this devastation. But actually it burns away the undergrowth and then it allows room for the new beautiful future to bloom.
I feel like forest fires are really way worse than in terms of like the havoc and devastation they wreak. Does not match up to what grows up afterwards.
No, not in the not like nowadays. Yes, and the reason why is because of like climate change exacerbating them. That's why. But in the old days, when it was just normal, like in the Paleolithic, there was still forest fires, and they would burn through and burn away a bunch of shit, and then the new growth would come through, and that was just the cycle of life. It was just part of the cycle of life. But nowadays, it's not the same because you've got a place like Australia or wherever that has become unnaturally dry over more and more time, with climate change, and these California ones and all that. So. Yeah, it's no longer true. Now you're right. You're correct that the devastation wrought is much worse. But on a smaller scale, and in the olden days, Paleolithic. Shout out to our Paleolithic listeners. I was in another wee bit of acting news. I acted in a small commercial the other day for a remote control car. And so my job was to go to a skate park and stand there pretending I'm a dad as my kid plays with a remote control car. Yeah. And I just got to play with the remote control car as well. So I was just playing with remote control cars and getting paid.
I imagine just standing in one place as well.
More or less. Yeah, it was a little small amount of, everything was shot within
maybe 30, a little bit of improv meters. With the kid.
Well, there was no dialogue. There was no audio. So it was all just
talking shit.
So I was like, yeah, go buddy. That's the one. Yeah, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it was really just visual. So yeah, that was fun. That was good fun. Extremely low pay, and you better nobody tell my agent about it, because if you tell my agent about it, they probably won't be happy that I'm working for these very, 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 very far below industry standard rates. But I'm doing it for a friend, and I'm doing it also for fun. And I'm also doing it because that's still not a bad rate, because you only work for like 3 hours. I got $160 for my troubles. And,
right.
3 hours of playing with, it was actually a little bit less than 3 hours of playing with remote control cars, got me out of the house.
Yeah.
So, fuck it. It was good.
That's it.
Okay.
We're done.
No, well, there was also a slight update on not balding after the conversation last week.
Robust conversation.
The robust conversation last week. I went and tweaked, and refined the not balding script a little more. I sent it to you. Yep. You said you liked it. Although you did co-write it, obviously.
I said it was great. I said about 50% of this is gold.
Yeah.
You go, I really like 50% of it. I'm not sure about the other half,
50,
but
yeah.
it's, there's a lot of good stuff in there.
So it's about 5 pages, but that's not in proper script format at the moment, at proper script font size and all that stuff. So it probably isn't actually 5 or 6 pages. So
I kind of think it is.
Yeah?
You said that it's not really, but it
well,
is
the
actually.
font is quite a lot bigger. The font that I'm using is a lot bigger, and the layout is not.
It's not 12-point Courier.
No, but it is. It is Courier, but it's not
12 point.
It might not be 12 point. I'm not sure what.
I
Point
feel
it
like
is.
it is. I looked at that and I was like, because you said it wasn't in script format, and I
And
was
you're
like,
it's totally in script format.
I was like, yes, it is. It's just not in the.
It's just
the
not final draft.
Yeah.
Well, so how long do you reckon that would take director Guy Pigden and DP Isaac to shoot?
Yeah, so that was the question that you asked, and you said, how long do you reckon? About half a day, and I reckon it's actually going to just be a bit over half a day, probably.
Yeah.
But maybe not if we shoot 2 cameras. So it will be, because there's a lot of talking in it. If you think 5 pages is really a day, as in a comfortable, chill day of shooting. And so when you go past 5 pages of script, then it's going to be a slightly less comfortable, chill day of filming. But obviously you can work around that. So for example, a lot of this is going to be about your coverage because you're the one saying the most stuff. And so for instance, if we did shoot 2 cameras and we combine some of that coverage, so rather than going, we're going to shoot, a wide, a medium, and a tight, we'll shoot a wide and a medium and a tight, over the course of the thing. That's it. Coverage is done. We spin it round. In theory, we could go at twice as fast. So then it really becomes about the performance. But I still think it will be just a bit over half a day.
I think there'll be quite a lot of rehearsal on that one.
I thought you were going to say, I think there'll be quite a lot of fucking up on that one.
Yeah.
Which I would agree. There will be quite a lot of fucking up.
Depends how much rehearsal we do and how much I learn, because it's mostly me doing monologues.
Yeah.
And so we've got the auto cue, which we can set up on an iPad, but it won't look very good if I'm actually reading it. But it will be handy to have it, I think, just off screen, so that when I fuck up, instead of having to fluff around with a script and go, well, where was I up to again? I can just control it and be like, oh yeah, that's where I was. And then start again or whatever. Plus, there's always the old classic. Every time I fuck up, cut to you, cut back to me for the second half of my take.
It's the magic of filming.
It's just going to keep cutting back to you, looking like disturbed or annoyed or or confused. Yeah,
the magic of movies.
Yeah.
And Jason says he's going to send a script for us to not read.
Yeah, he might be referring to the fact that one of his friends sent us a script, which we didn't read.
Right. Send it again. We'll not read it again.
Yeah. Well,
we might read it.
I actually so that was like a year and a half ago or something
Yeah.
like that, and it sat on my desktop ever since.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I got to give this guy's script a go. I got to give it a go. This guy over in America, I got to give his script a go.
Yeah.
And then
sitting on a gold mine, it's probably the best thing
best
that
thing
you've
I've
ever
read.
been.
Yeah.
You don't know. It could be.
Just the other day, I finally got round to deleting it. I was like,
You finally got round to truly ignoring it to its fullest extent by putting it in the trash.
But I left it on my desktop for a year and a half. That's a good commitment.
That's a big commitment.
That's a big commitment. You could tell I was really serious about maybe one day reading it. The problem is, and we've had this conversation on the show before, there's a few problems. One is that if I read a script of this guy in America, that's great. And if it's cool, good for him. But I'm not going to steal his script from him. So what am I going to do? How does me reading a script even help him? I could give him some edit notes, but then it's like, okay, cool. Well, not edit notes, like script notes, my opinions for what they're worth on, that. But what I've got, of all the things to do, why would I be doing that? Or why would I be doing edit notes for this random guy overseas when I could be doing edit notes for, say, your werewolf film or any number of other things, And then it's like, well, people sometimes go, can you read the script? And it's like, well, yeah, but reading it's not the hard part. The hard part is obviously if I'm going to read your script, I then need to give you feedback. Yeah. And the feedback takes time and energy and thought because you want to get it
reread
right.
it a couple times.
Exactly. I'll read it once and then I reread it and write the notes, and then so I'm reading it twice, I'm writing the notes. You've also sometimes got to be a little bit tactful. You can't just be like, this bit's shit, you should get rid of it. You've got to go like, I can see what you're trying to achieve here, and maybe another way of doing that would be...
The worse it is, the more tactful you have to be in some ways. If it's really great, that kind of makes it easy for you.
Yeah.
But if it's not, and you've got to give notes, then you've got to diplomatically tell someone that what they've done is shit, but not say outrightly that it's shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is a tough gig. It's a tough gig.
It's a special skill that requires payment.
I will say, yes, they do pay people for that.
Well, not me though. That's what I mean. Like, and if you're going to ask me to read your script, you should be like, hey, Harley,
I'll give you $500 to read this.
No, here's $10. Go read the script for me.
$10.
Nah. Like it depends if
$100.
How. Yeah, it depends what they need. Like,
but it also does. Like, I do think that on the same token, like on the flip side of that, Jason Combs could be sitting on a brilliant script for us to make that could be our next movie, by this guy, or by him, or by whoever. And because we go, it probably won't be.
It statistically won't be.
Yeah, statistically it won't be. So we are sort of, if this was Hollywood, we would read every one.
Yeah.
But it is interesting because I think that's what I've learned, because, I'm having a similar issue where people are asking, like, they want me to read their script. And I turned to it, it was 18 pages. And I was like, oh, that's about 8 pages too long for a reading, for me to do some reading on that one. But also it's like, look, where you are in your career versus where I am in my career. Well, there's not a big difference, actually, to be quite... But it's like, I'm not going to go, cool, the clouds will part and we will make this great thing. It's like, I'll go, cool, this probably needs a lot of work, and I'm definitely not the one to help you with that. So, best of luck to you.
Yeah.
And so I think there's a tough thing. Like, I always used to think when I would give a script, so, I started... by submitting unsolicited scripts to people. That's really how I started, and I got work through that. But, I would submit scripts to people, and then I'd message them like a week later and go, have you read the script? And they were like, no. And in my head, I'd be like, well, why the fuck haven't you? You've had a whole week.
Yeah.
And then I would... 2 weeks later, have you read the script? I haven't had time, sorry. What, 3 weeks now? What's fucking wrong with you? You can't like sit down for fucking an hour and a half to read the script in 3 weeks? And, this would go on. And to be fair, it still happens. I still submit scripts to people where they don't read them. But like now I see when people submit scripts to me, it's like, yeah, cool. I don't actually have the capacity for this right now. So that's why I'm not reading. It's no affront to you personally. Like, it's no disrespect to you. It's like literally no good will come of me reading your script. So that's why I'm not reading it. And also, maybe I'm making a script right now. I'm making a movie. Movie making takes a really long time. And I'm in the middle of that right now. And that's why I'm not reading a script. Now, before I was in the industry and did any of that stuff, I just didn't get that idea that, like, it's like, well, you're looking for new scripts, aren't you? You're looking for new opportunities.
Yeah.
I'm putting one right on your lap. Here it is. Here's the next gold right there. All you have to do is read it. And you just can't even do that. So, your perspective changes as time goes on.
And as the film industry beats your optimism out of you.
Yeah, well, I think but it is a busyness thing, really.
Yeah.
It's like I'm in the middle of, an intensive workload for whatever it is I'm doing. By the time we get to the end of that, I will have, definitely forgotten about your script. But not because I didn't have some intention of reading it at some point. It's more that I've been in the trenches for 3 months, and I just come back out. I'm not thinking, wow, what's the next script I can produce? I'm thinking about my post-production, or I'm thinking about this, or I'm thinking about, we've gone straight into work on another thing now. And so all of those kind of factor into the Jason sending 5 scripts. I'm on board. I'm on board. We'll definitely read some. So yeah, but that's why scripts don't get read. And at this stage, I've been given an 18-page script to read. and I'm trying to work out how I can say to the person, I don't think I should read your script. I don't think it's wise at this point for me to read
Well, what
that
you should just do
script.
is just tell them that you're going to.
Yeah,
but then don't. And then when they ask you about it, say that you're going to, but then don't.
And then you
just do that.
No,
and eventually they'll get bored of asking you.
No, what I'm saying is you repeat that 4 times, right? The 5th time you don't reply to the email. That's how you add the extra dimension to it.
Yeah.
That's the true producer's way.
Yeah.
So 4 to 5 times, apologize and say that you'll get to it. 5th time, simply never respond to them again. And then awkwardly meet them, another 6 months later at a thing and go, oh, yeah, the script. Sorry, I never got to that.
Yeah.
Do it the true producer's way. That's the only way to do it.
You heard it here first, people. These are hot tips.
This is free filmmaking advice.
These are hot tips here. Now, Hamish William Gavin, shout out to Hamo, the Hamosexual.
The Hamosexual
our rap partner.
Hamosexual is running wild down in Christchurch.
He did. He asked me to give a verse for one of his new songs, and I recorded the verse and I sent it to him, and he said he liked it, but he said that he wanted it in a more aggressive sort of way. So same lyrics and all that, but just a bit more aggressive. And then I didn't quite get around to doing that in much of a hurry, and then he released the song without me. So, but I did do it, and I did send it.
Come on.
You
can't make a man do the whole lyrics. I mean, that would have taken
it took ages. I had to write
half a day to write the lyrics.
No. Well, it was a project that I didn't work. If I had sat down for half a day, I guess it would be half a day. But of course, I did a little bit here and a little bit tomorrow and a little bit the day after. You know, and then I recorded it a bunch of times, and then I wasn't happy with it, and then I re-recorded it, and I ended up doing a few different recording sessions. Had to keep on moving my mic from the studio back to my room to do the recording up there, and it was all a bit of work really. But ultimately, I was like, no, I'm pretty happy with this. I'm quite happy with this verse. And then, that didn't happen. So, shout out to Hamish, though. But he does say that he's still going to use my verse for the actual album version of the song, just not the radio edit hit single that people will actually be listening to.
So just the one that people will care about, you won't be on.
Yeah, you got it. You got it.
So shout out to Tyler Adams on the live stream as well.
Yeah, and also Jared Murray, kind of half listening, but did I hear werewolf script?
You did, my friend.
Yes, you did, Jared. Yes, you did.
Yeah, so I've been having this idea of doing first is kind of to do a short film around the place that we now live. And then it's maybe to do a feature film around the place we live, as in our houses, because then you don't have to worry about locations, the old classic. It's a concept actually that we've been discussing with Tyler Adams about creating this werewolf idea. Unfortunately, I've got to do some writing. And sometimes that proves problematic, especially when you're kind of busy and you get distracted with YouTube videos and stuff. I was sort of hoping to, before my girlfriend left, because she's going to be in it too, to kind of film it before she left, and also before we come out of all these lockdowns.
Yeah, and everyone gets busy again.
But unfortunately, I just have not had the time to really get it down on paper. But yeah, werewolf short film. And I do think we will do it. It's also just thinking about is it because this is what happens whenever you finish something. You go, cool. Now it's got to do the festival circuit, and cool. Now we got to take it through post, and now we got to do this, and now we got to do that, and it's like, do we though, or can you just put it up? And obviously, there's value in having successful festival films, 100%. But sometimes I feel like it's just we're fucking around with festivals to get to our actual release of something.
It does feel like a bit of a delay sometimes.
On the off chance that obviously, which has happened in the past, we've got some good success with the festivals.
Yeah.
But it's also kind of is that good success worth delaying it a year of festival submissions? And then let's not forget the the cost involved.
Yeah. Well, when you speaking of which, when are you going to upload Stay at Home?
Well, that's what I'm doing right now with Stay at Home. Is I've submitted to some festivals, and now I'm sort of do I keep going? I've only submitted to I don't know, 5, between 5 and 10, can't remember. Do I keep going with that? Or does it just go...
Bang it up on the old YouTube.
Yeah. Yeah, so I don't really know.
So Hamish Gavin says to send people to Hamish Gavin on Spotify where they can listen to the song that I'm not in. It's called Everyone's Journey. Everyone's Journey. So go search for Hamish Gavin on Spotify. Look for Everyone's Journey, and you can hear the version of the song that I'm not in. If that's something that you're interested in, and he's just posted the link in the description on.
This was where Harley
was
have
meant
featured.
to have been. It would have a lot more views. I tell you what, if I had been in it. Also, Nocturnal on the live stream says that he's working on a werewolf transformation at the moment, and that he should be able to pitch a script in a minute or have a treatment that will tell us if the script is worth the effort. So send it on through, and we won't read that either. No, we will. Especially if it's a treatment. It was also especially, but also because
especially if it's someone we know.
Yeah.
Although
someone we know is a little bit different than an American guy.
Well, also, American guy. But also it's like, what degree do we know this person?
I read Ashley Pittman's script the other day.
Yeah, so I think it's all to do with, like, if you know someone and you work with someone, of course you're going to give it a read and you're going to try and help them because they've helped you.
Yeah, so to our real life, to
our real life friends
and connections, don't take this too personally.
Yeah,
we're mostly talking about randoms.
Yeah, we're definitely talking about kind of associates.
We know that you would pay us.
That we bump into and they're like, hey, you're a director, so I guess you should read the script. Yeah.
You know what's interesting? This Facebook situation where I'm live streaming on Facebook. Turns out somehow I've fucked this up.
Good.
Where it is live streaming on my personal page.
That's good.
So, hey, Mum. No, it's live streaming both on the Guy and Harley podcast page and my personal page.
Sweet.
So
double the traffic.
Exactly. And I mean, to be fair, I have been building my Facebook page for many years under the with the plan of of using those connections online. So that's good. Maybe we'll just do this every week. I don't know. But yes. Anyway, it's on my Facebook too. So cool. YouTube is the best place to watch. If you guys want to help us, the best place to watch is to search the Guy and Harley podcast on YouTube and watch it there because we're trying to get the view time up. And last week's episode did get the view time up quite a bit, which was cool. So
Facebook is for those millennials who are stuck glued to their cell phone.
Yeah, but actually what's the generation under us? Those ones are the anti-Facebookers. Are you keeping up with this Metaverse? Have you heard about this Metaverse? Are we talking about this? You heard about this?
Yeah.
The Metaverse?
Yeah, the Metaverse, yep.
Yeah. So, I mean, my understanding of the Metaverse is that it's it's essentially the augmented reality 3D where basically I figure you're still going to have some sort of device over your eyes. Or whether it's a device or whether it's an implant or whether it's a contact lens or how it works, I'm not sure. But, essentially you've got...
But to begin with,
it's going to be something over your eyes. So you're sitting here in a room and you put it over your eyes and it's got like basically graphics that look like real life for the most part. And... you and I decided to do the podcast, but instead of doing it over Zoom, we're in separate rooms. I'm sitting here, you're sitting in your room, and I look over to you, and there you are. Or at least, and if it's not you, it's your avatar that you have created, a big waifu, lesbian space alien with big titties or something like that. And we'll just be here having a conversation. And we'll look around and be able to, do things and see things, 3D things in front of us within this actual space or in a made-up space, completely fabricated three-dimensional space. And so we'll be able to sit here and say you're an engineer or whatever, you're working on something and in front, you put on your glasses and in front of you is this big 3D model of the engine that you're working on, and you can kind of break it up and look into it and do all of that type of stuff before finally sending it away to the 3D printer or whatever. But then of course there'll be a million other things, like you'll want to buy your handbag, and you'll be walking around with your wee handbag and it'll be a Louis Vuitton handbag. Your avatar will have a Louis Vuitton handbag which is an NFT that you've bought and only you own it, and or maybe it's just not an NFT, but either way you've paid real money for it. And you've got you're buying shit with like cryptocurrency in the metaverse, and it's just a part of our, we think that we're already online, but actually there's the before the 2000s, you've got we're not online yet analog stage. At the moment we're in the transition phase.
I thought they said we're a generation 2 of the internet.
Yeah, so
Something like that.
Yeah, I saw that too. And then so generation 3 is more like we're all in charge of it, like more like an Uber type approach to the internet, instead of just getting information from big corporations like Facebook and that type of thing. We're actually in control of what we create and who we deal with, and it's more segmented and smaller in that sense. But yes, anyway, it's all quite interesting. And so if we're currently in this transition period where we're going from the analog world to this fully digital metaverse, now is the time to be investing in those metaverse stocks. All of those metaverse companies. I was looking up one the other week. It's called Roblox. I was looking up Roblox, and I was like, oh,
I've heard of that.
Maybe I should have a look at this. And I was like, okay, maybe I put it on my watch list. Like fucking 5 days later, fucking through the roof. The stock goes through the roof. And this other one that I was looking at. So I was looking at two separate ones, and they put them both. I added them to my watch list, and both of them went soon afterwards, and I was like, well shit, now I've missed it. But I probably haven't missed it, because if there's as much growth as we expect, then this metaverse thing's got a long way to go.
The real issue, I think, is that why did Mark Zuckerberg have to look so much like an android? It really works against his whole mission.
Yeah.
Because people are distrustful of replicants. And he looks exactly like one. He looks...
The Uncanny Valley, He's in the Uncanny Valley.
He looks like Data from fucking Star Trek The Next Generation.
Yeah.
Exactly like Data.
Yeah.
And his expression is very Data-like.
Yeah.
And it's all just a little bit disturbing. And it's like, if you're a conspiracy theorist and you're thinking he's a fucking robot, I would not... really try and argue against that. He's the first robot. He's built by Facebook to take over the world.
Yeah.
And he doesn't look quite human enough. We all should have been onto it, but we weren't. But the metaverse, it's all pretty interesting stuff.
Yeah. Well, I think that was a big ballsy move as well just a cunning move by Facebook to rebrand to Meta. Because they haven't invented the metaverse. The metaverse is a thing. There's a whole bunch of different, people associated with it. Companies associated with it and platforms associated with it. But he called the company Meta, which at this time, when the metaverse is kind of the next big thing and whatever's going to happen next in this, scenario. And so it's quite clever, because basically it's going to look like Facebook invented the metaverse. It's kind of, it's quite good marketing. And historically people will look back and go, oh yeah, Facebook, the metaverse was invented by Facebook. A small social media network is what that was. And then it invented the metaverse and exploded.
I'm looking forward to being able to, look, it's going to be nice not to have to go into the classroom.
Well, you're not going to have to go anywhere. That's the thing. Like you're virtually going to have to go nowhere. Instead of having a Zoom meeting, you'll go boop and you go, oh, what up, bro? Here I am.
Yeah.
Yep, I'm here with you right now. We can interact in every way. We just can't fuck.
But I feel like the real issue is that, particularly here in New Zealand, our internet's too slow. To kind of project everything quickly enough. Do
you think?
Well, at this stage, I just feel like as we were 10 years behind with fiber, we're going to be 10 years behind with the metaverse, and everyone's going to be walking around the metaverse, and here we are like, sorry.
I've got my 8-bit Mario. That's my avatar is an 8-bit Mario. Well, look, a few people on the live stream have been saying that the automated subtitles on Facebook are actually really good, and I did catch a glimpse of them before, and they did look really good. The only thing they're not doing is they're not differentiating between your words and my words. It's just every word that goes up is going out there, and apparently they're reasonably accurate, and they must be quite accurate because Jason P. Diddy Combs is watching from a bar with no audio on, and he still knows what's happening.
The best way to watch this is with a drink in your hand.
Yep.
No doubt about that. And Nocturnal says that he's working on a where is it? Where is it?
You talking about the werewolf thing again?
No, he's printing a wrestling ring for Alex Savage, a miniature figure right now for the studio. So Nocturnal, I really appreciate that, and you can rest assured that it will be sitting in the studio whenever that's ready. That's awesome. And Hamish says Gen Z hate Facebook. It's true. I talk to a lot of kids. Facebook's for old people now. So if you like Facebook, guess what? You're fucking old. Giant Pumpkin does believe that Zuckerberg is a robot. And that's fair enough. And Tyler Adams says he's going to be playing Half-Life when he gets home with the RTX 3080. That's a fancy graphics card in VR. VR.
My NVIDIA stock has gone up in value a lot, also as a result of their position, the positioning themselves to be involved in the metaverse.
Right.
Well,
did AMD do that or no?
Yeah, they both did.
Oh, okay,
I should have bought both, but I only bought NVIDIA.
Sweet, my
and
stock's
I wish
gone up
I
then.
bought both. Oh yeah, would have. It would have jumped up quite a notable amount.
I should check my stock.
If only you'd put in more than $10.
My
You've doubled your money. You've
my
got $20.
stocks are going up. I've got $20. My investments are paying off.
Yeah. Well, look, you never know. That might actually be quite handy. In 2031, when you're like, hey, that $10 worth of AMD that I bought is now worth $1,000, and I need $1,000 because the world's ending.
Also, Jason Combs says he's just not some nobody. He read lines opposite Daniel Radcliffe.
Yeah.
He is not some nobody. We agree with that. We were talking about his friend who was the person that wrote the script. He's the nobody.
Do you think he's talking about that? No, but we didn't even say his friend was a nobody.
Well, I am saying his friend is a nobody.
We just say that we don't know him.
Yeah.
We just don't know him. We just don't know the guy. He's just some guy emailing me on Facebook. Emailing me. And
we'll
emailing
the script. Send the script through.
Can you send me the script? Can you read the script? Well, why?
And
what's the point?
Richard says New Zealand...
You want me to work for free for you?
New Zealand internet has been likened to, in speed, California 2008.
Well, we've got a lot of room for growth then. A lot of room for growth. The problem is those big, long cables that need to run under the sea. And that's another reason to be investing in, all of the Elon Musk brands. Because, with SpaceX, what he's trying to do is he's trying to get a bunch of satellites up there that all talk to each other and give worldwide internet, which is quite an obvious solution. Like, it makes way more sense to have worldwide satellite internet all around the Earth, no matter where you go, than to have cables, literally cables, connecting different countries so that they can talk to each other. It's got environmental issues with doing that. It destroys, obviously you've got to literally lay a cable across the fucking Pacific or the Atlantic. That makes sense. Elon Musk, he might be onto something.
Now, you said that I needed to invest in some Tesla stock because he was going to sell some of his stock.
Yeah.
Did that end up happening?
If you had listened to me and bought it when I said, then it would have gone up in value. So what happened was it went up to it spiked up recently, right? All the way up to $1,200 from down around $800 and something because some news came out because Hertz, this rental car company Hertz, ordered 100,000 Teslas, and then Uber has a deal with Hertz as well where they're going to end up using some of these Teslas. So Uber, if the future comes to be and full self-driving happens, which is this next, what Tesla's working on, this idea that these cars can drive themselves around, ultimately Uber is going to be using Teslas to drive themselves around, being a robo-taxi. But they'll never be able to compete with actual Tesla because Tesla can just do it themselves. But yes, anyway, I saw that Elon Musk had been forced to sell a bunch of stock. And so I sent Guy a text and I was like, hey mate, there's going to be a dip in the market, really soon when business opens, and it's probably a pretty good time to actually buy it because the dip in the market is to do with the fact that Elon Musk needs to sell stock. So he's selling, millions of units of Tesla stock in order to pay a tax bill. So he has to sell stock, and stock is a finite resource. So if you put more stock into the pool of available stock, that means each piece of stock is worth less, because there's more of it in there now. And so he's taking a bunch of his stock and kind of putting it in the publicly available pool. Plus, a bunch of people are getting emotional and they go, well, if Elon Musk is selling, then now must be the time to sell. If Elon Musk is selling, if he would know, right? Now is the time to sell. And it had just gone up to $1,200, so it was quite a good time to sell. You make a bunch of money and you can walk away. But the company fundamentals are the same, right? It's exactly the same company. Nothing's changed. They're still building cars. They're still, they've got the same capacity. They're increasing capacity. All the stuff that made the stock worth $1,200 is still the same. The bit that's changed is that is only to do with the stock market and Elon putting stock out. So I was like, this is a good time to buy because it's going to dip when he puts all the stock out. You buy a bunch, then it's going to go back up. And it kind of has. It dipped from 1,200 down to, it went under 1,000, and now it's sitting at around 1,100, and it will make its way back up. So it's actually still not a bad time to buy, maybe. I'm still buying. I'm doing good on Tesla. I'm loving Tesla. Shout out to Adam St. John, who first put me on to Tesla. Because I mean, obviously I wanted to buy Tesla already. I knew about Tesla already, but he was the one that was like, yeah, man, I'm making quite a bit of money on Tesla. You should get onto that.
He was making silly money on Tesla.
So I was like,
He's
cool,
making
man.
silly fucking money.
I was like, cool, man. And so I joined up. and
Rich
got that
guy
Tesla.
problems.
So
Rich white guy problems.
if anybody wants to join,
Don't know where to spend. I don't know
More
what stock
money.
to buy. I got all this money, and I don't know which stock am I going to make the most money on. I'm making so much money.
Yeah. Well, if anybody wants to get on to buying Tesla stock or any other stock, use Sharesies or Stake. There's a link in the description below. If you use those links, then you get free money, and so do I. So it's a referral fee. So it's nothing out of your bottom line. You just get free money for signing up using my link, and so do I. It's all paid for by the company. So yeah, Stake and Sharesies, have a go. I bought the other day. I was like on the internet, and some edible insects came up on my newsfeed. And I've eaten insects before in Thailand, actually. I've eaten insects. And I didn't really like them, to be honest. I was like, these are pretty gross. The frogs are really good. Taste like chicken, but the insects, pretty gross.
Disgusting.
But I did try them, more than one time. I tried these different bugs. And what's interesting about the bugs, right, is to make 1 kilo of protein. So a kilo of protein for a human to eat. To create 1 kilo of protein, you need 1 liter of water for bugs. So 1 kilo of protein from bugs requires 1 liter of water. 1 kilo of protein from cattle requires 22,000 liters. 22,000 times as much water is required to create a kilo of protein from cow than it would be to create it from bugs, which only 1 liter. So I was like, all right. Obviously, if we're going to keep degrading our environment, we're going to have to make some changes to our diets. But I'm just not ready to go vegan, so I'll just eat bugs instead. I'll try these bugs. I'll see how these bugs are. So I ordered these bugs online. Mm-hmm. It ended up costing me $30 because of the postage and stuff like that. The bugs arrived, and they were these little tiny, little breakfast packs of breakfast cereal packs, size
like
of bugs.
Wheat Bix bugs.
Yeah, like itty bitty little packets of bugs. And so I tried all 3 of them. One of them is okay. The crickets are not bad. The grasshoppers are slightly worse than the crickets, and the mealworms are the worst. The mealworms are horrible, but they're teriyaki flavored. They're barbecue flavored, peri flavored. I was like, hey, this might be good. This might be yum. It's like crunchy bugs with peri flavoring. It could be awesome. But to be honest, I don't think I'm going to finish them. So that was $30 directly down the drain.
Yeah, I've had crickets before.
Yeah, why were you eating crickets?
Oh, it was just
because you were a kid and you were just eating them.
It was just because I saw one, crawling along my bed, and I'm in the mouth,
Yeah. Just like
as you do.
It must have been.
See a fly catch out of the air.
Yeah. What's the movie? Oh, 12 Monkeys.
Yeah.
You were just like Brad Pitt. Not Brad Pitt. Bruce Willis in 12 Monkeys when he sees a bug in the mental. He sees a big spider in the mental asylum.
Yeah.
And he grabs it and shoves it in his mouth. It was exactly the same, except for you just do that every day. No, but he was doing it in order to have the spider in his stomach to take back to the future so that the scientists could examine it. You were just hungry.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it was just part of a meal, like a meal plan that you could order. One of their meal plans was a crickets protein-based meal. Mm-hmm. And I was like, that sounds hideous, but I'll give it a go.
Where was this, sorry? Was it at a what?
Just a meal plan, you order a series of meals online.
Ah, yeah, and you could try
order
the
a crickets meal, yeah.
Yeah.
Disgusting.
So you ordered it.
Yeah.
So even as a meal with like herbs and spices and some cheese.
I was like,
macaroni,
this tastes
as bad as it sounds.
Yeah, it's wrong. This is wrong. So yeah, I'm not a big fan of crickets.
Well, get used to it, mate, because in the future,
well, I was going to say,
be a rare.
Don't worry about it, mate. We're all just going towards Snowpiercer. So I don't know if you've seen that film, but
is that a Bond film?
No, it's basically they're all on this train that's going round and round, and it's
I watched,
and they eat cockroaches are the main source of sustenance.
Isn't it a TV show?
Because they've made it a TV show now.
So I started watching the TV show.
Started as a movie,
and I was like, who's doing all the maintenance on these tracks? I was like, so the whole world's frozen over, And this train is just plowing through a bunch of it. But I mean, train tracks, worldwide train tracks that you've got to continually go on a loop on, that's going to require so much maintenance.
You thought too much about
these
it.
tracks?
You thought too much about it. It was
That
the same
train
issue like when
crashed so quickly.
When Iron Man fell out of the sky.
Or when Indiana Jones got put in a refrigerator and
got blown
launched
up.
into
No,
the
I had an
fucking
issue with that
stratosphere.
too. I mean, don't get me wrong. See, I could buy into, we have mentioned this in the podcast, I could buy into the idea that he gets punched off a boat and somehow he hangs onto the boat for a travel across the Pacific. I'm all right with that.
Yeah.
That I believe that happened in Last Crusade, or maybe, I think that was Last Crusade.
Okay.
Yeah, it was Last Crusade.
Yeah.
So he can get punched off a boat.
No, I didn't have a problem with that.
And exactly. Yeah. And he can travel on the water across the Pacific, hundreds of miles. That's fine.
Mm-hmm.
But if he puts himself in a refrigerator and gets blown up by a nuclear blast, not okay.
No. Well, it's a bridge too far. Shout out to Tyrone Williams Jr. on the live stream who, sup, what y'all talking about? Y'all from Austria? No, we are from Australasia. We are from New Zealand. And Vengeance has a question on the live stream as well, which is coming our way any second now as well.
Also, is Harley tripping? What's with all the bug talk? Asked Jason. Yeah, it's a good question.
Well,
who the fuck orders bugs online?
Well,
That's weird.
Why would that mean that I'm tripping, though? This is no weirder than anything I talk about on any other episode of the podcast.
I don't know. Eating bugs now? We're eating bugs now? What are we, 3 years old?
Well, I mean...
In the fucking backyard?
Some of the shit I talk about, man. Sperm Quest... there's some fucked up shit that I talk about. Okay.
This is the question.
Yeah, from Vengeance. Vengeance on... This is on Twitch, so shout out to our Twitch listeners.
Do the ladies like hairy guys?
Well, that's a question for the listeners. If Dottie Pie is out there and...
Well, I was going to say there's no female listeners.
That's not true. There's a number of female listeners. They all slid into my DMs when we missed out the show last night. They're all devastated. And so, yeah. So we are not from Austria, and do the ladies like hairy guys? Well, we'll let the listeners sort of chime in on that one, but
as a general rule,
do the ladies like hairy guys? Now, as a general rule, you're going to say no.
Yeah.
But I am going to say that I have a bevy of beautiful exes to suggest that perhaps
they put up with it.
That they tolerate it.
That for an extended period of time, they're willing to tolerate the thing they hated most.
Well, look, it's very true that I think that it's all about expectations. Like no woman out there is, well, not no woman, but most women out there are not like, you know what I want? A short, hairy, bald guy. Most women don't say that. However, when they encounter a short, hairy, bald guy such as myself, they then find themselves in a long-term loving relationship. So the proof is in the pudding. Once again, the proof is always in the pudding.
The other proof would be to look at the boyfriend after you.
Yeah.
And see if any of them fit your archetype.
It's true. It's true that my ex-girlfriend's new partner is a hairy-headed, bald-backed usurper. Yeah. So, sure, whatever. Actually, now that I think about it, my other ex-girlfriend, I'm going to make up a name. We'll call her Mandy.
Yeah.
She has a boyfriend who has a full head of hair and is a lot taller than me.
That's what I was wondering about the trend.
They've all got full heads of hair and they're taller than me.
Yeah. So it wasn't something that they latched onto.
No, well, to be honest, though, they probably would be like, this guy's tall and he's got a full head of hair, and Harley was not tall and he didn't have a full head of hair, but I really wish my new boyfriend had a hairy back, because I really miss that about I really miss running my fingers through Harley's hairy shoulders. So
I would probably say I think that answers the question, actually.
I think it does. The other day I went and I filmed a skate video. Well, when I say filmed, I mean I starred in a skate video. My friend Francois filmed it and is editing it for me. He sent me a cut of it yesterday. Looks good. and it's just a wee piece of, I guess, TikTok content or YouTube, or I don't know, like just a wee bit of social media content of me skating, doing a wee intro and then doing some skating, and it was good fun and it went well. But we only had about 25 minutes to actually film, so I'm hoping to get him out there again, and we'd do another session, get a few more. 'Cause I didn't do any flip tricks. So.
Why did you only have 25 minutes?
Well, I had plenty of time, obviously. I mean, I'm an unemployed person.
Yeah.
But he was busy working, and it was a work weekday, and he had sort of snuck away in the afternoon from his work to film and with me. But and that was fine. He thought he had enough time, but then his boss was calling because they had some urgent bullshit to deal with. So basically he had to run away. So we only had about 25 minutes to film it, unfortunately. So that was why that happened. But that's coming out soon, so make sure you go check out our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Pigville and the number 2, or just facebook.com/Guy and Harley, or any of the other places. Just search for Pigville, and I'm sure that it'll be up there somewhere. I'll also share it on my personal Facebook page, where a number of our viewers are watching right now.
Do you want to read this one?
All right, okay. Tyrone asks, what's the woman like where y'all live? If they smashing hairy bald motherfuckers, then I'ma be a dream to be 100%. Yeah, well, look, I'm not sure where you're from, Tyrone, but
This is New Zealand.
This is New Zealand. I would say
people are very tolerant.
Yeah.
Of bald, hairy motherfuckers.
Yeah. I think that New Zealand women are very beautiful. But one thing I did notice as I travelled internationally was that women overseas do seem somewhat more ladylike, somewhat more, they're more like ladies, they may be a little more refined. And I don't want to offend any of our New Zealand female listeners, but that's just an observation I noticed. I go overseas and I sort of see a lot of the ladies seem quite sort of immaculately presented and ladylike, whereas in New Zealand, and this is perhaps why a lot of foreign guys are actually attracted to New Zealand women. New Zealand women are like, they're like your mate. They're a bit more like your mate, and they're a bit more, get into it and gung ho, and this type of thing. So. But it just means, look, it's great. There's a lot of good things about it. But one, the bad thing is just the farts, the big farts and all of that stuff, from these Kiwi girls. But mostly, yeah. That's what I've noticed.
The big farts from the Kiwi girls.
The big farts from the big unladylike farts from the Kiwi girls. But mostly, obviously I love New Zealand women. Shout out to the New Zealand female listeners. There might be literally none of those.
Yeah.
There might be literally no New Zealand.
There's none of them.
I mean, there are females in New Zealand listening, but they're foreigners. I know there are some female listeners in New Zealand, but I'm not sure if there are any female New Zealand-born, Kiwi ladies that are tuning into this show. Tyrone's from New York. Bevan says I'm digging a huge hole. I'm not digging a hole.
Yeah, that's kind of what I thought. So I didn't join in.
That I was digging a hole, or that,
that
they're going to fart.
You're digging a hole.
No, I tactfully went around the outside of the hole.
I didn't. So
I skirted the outside.
I didn't pile on with those comments.
Yeah. Well, in the old days, we would have said that they had giant feet and hairy armpits, and then they were blokey. But now we're saying that they're very beautiful and that maybe ladies overseas are slightly more refined. So you can see that we're maturing. I'm maturing. After our episode last week, I only had 3 hours sleep. So we finished that episode at about 3 a.m.
Yeah.
And I was in such a rage that I couldn't sleep for about 3 hours. And then I finally fell asleep, and I only slept for about 3 hours. And then finally the next night I went to sleep, and I woke up screaming, like probably the loudest I've ever woken up screaming before. And I've woken up screaming a few times. And I woke up screaming, but it actually wasn't anything to do with you, or at least not consciously. You were not in my dream. It was about a silver colored, almost like the T2000, a jelly mannequin. A jelly mannequin with no arms and no legs was on top of the closet next to me, and it jumped onto the bed and was landed on my legs. and it had no arms and no legs, and for that reason it wasn't particularly scary, because I was like, it didn't even have a mouth. It had a head, and you could see where a mouth would be and where a nose would be and all that type of thing, but it didn't actually have any teeth or anything like that. And so it jumped on me, and I just felt very angry at it, and I wasn't scared of it. I was just going to kick its fucking ass. Basically, I was like,
well, it's got no arms.
It's got no arms and no legs and no teeth, and it's made of jelly. And I was like, I'm gonna fuck you up, man. And so I was screaming at it like, I'm gonna fuck you up type thing. And I woke up going, so
was
yeah.
your flatmate in then when you woke up screaming?
No.
Okay.
No flatmate.
Speaking of the...
And yes, I did say jelly mannequin, Jason P. Diddy Combs. Jelly mannequin. The subtitles are not broken.
You dreamed a jelly mannequin.
I did dream about a jelly mannequin.
But speaking of T2000, which you mentioned, is I just watched the James Cameron masterclass on directing.
How much did that cost?
Well, depends. Depends by which method you acquire it, Harley.
I see. I see, Guy.
Depends, but I believe it's actually quite expensive.
I believe it's retailing.
For like $180 or something for a yearly thing of masterclass. Might actually be more. Might be like $400, but you get all the masterclasses. Now, there was some really fascinating things about it. So this masterclass is obviously James Cameron sitting down and talking about, his directing process. And I will say that I believe that I have shit on some of these masterclasses before.
I believe you have shit on them on this very show.
And this one is certainly one of the better ones. It's certainly better than Martin Scorsese's. And yes, it's better than Werner Herzog's, even though Werner's is quite funny. But it's certainly better. And I believe I've watched one other one, but I can't remember. But yeah, so... It's better than all of those, but there's something hilarious in that he is the only one. So all of them normally come in and they sit down, in this nicely lit area, and they, talk to the camera or just off to the camera about their process. And then maybe you'll cut. I saw Ron Howard's one as well, which was all right.
You didn't check out Rodney Mullen's one?
I did not check out Rodney Mullen's.
Rodney Mullen has got one. Oh no, I think I might be thinking of his TED talk. Disregard.
Yeah, no, well, he's a skater, isn't he?
Yeah. He is a skater, but...
He's also a director, and he's done a masterclass?
No, but they're not... These masterclasses are not all filmmaking.
That's right.
There's heaps of different shit.
You're right, it can be a masterclass on anything.
Malala does one about fucking freedom fighting.
Yeah, it can be a masterclass on anything. But I obviously care about the writing, directing, and acting ones. And so anyway, I was like, oh, James Cameron's runs out. Awesome. And, he definitely did say some interesting things. But the funny thing is, this nicely lit area, because he's the special effects guy now, he's the avatar guy now, he walks into the middle of a room which is surrounded by green screen. Just like we have a green screen here. And he sits down in front of this giant green screen, and then obviously they project, green screen behind him. But this is the fucked up thing. The key on the green screen is horrible. So bits of his ear and stuff are disappearing into the green screen. And it's like, he's not close to the green screen. The green screen is massive and he's miles away from it. And it's almost like someone keyed it in 1 second. Like they literally hit, key.
Just the auto zoom.
Yeah,
key.
Auto key, no adjustment whatsoever, and it's the worst key you've ever seen. And it's the master of visual effects and directing talking, and he even makes light of the green screen, and it looks like absolute shit. And he goes, "I don't even know. Maybe they'll turn it off before I do this." And before he goes, "Maybe I'll turn it off before I do this," half his head disappears.
Yeah.
Before they actually turn it off and show the green screen.
Yeah.
Because the key is so fucking bad. And I was like, clearly. And this to me is like a representation of all these masterclasses being to some degree a little bit of bullshit. Is how much does James Cameron care about this? He hasn't even watched it. He hasn't watched it back. He's made this. They've cut it together. He's thought of some fucking shit to say. And because I can guarantee you, if James Cameron saw that key, he would throw a Titanic-sized James Cameron shit fit, as he's prone to doing. And yet, here it sits. And I was just like, I can't believe, because obviously everything is edited well. You've got shooting with multiple cameras. You're shooting with this in this actual great space. You know, you've got these beautiful backgrounds projected, but some motherfucker can't key green screen, and so it's fucked up the whole thing. And it just struck me as really weird.
Well, it is a bit weak, isn't it? Like, of all the things to get right,
The Avatar,
on his
man.
particular one, yeah, you would expect it to look visually quite nice.
But
what about what he was saying though?
Well,
Like, so okay, sure, you got an aesthetic issue. You got an aesthetic issue.
It was the shits.
And we know that he doesn't give a shit about it. So, what about what he was saying?
So what he was saying was, you know, like,
Fuck. Jason P. Diddy Combs says that the subtitles fucking censor me. They're fucking censoring us.
bullshit.
That's fucked up.
So basically you know, he does have some good advice in the sense that, you know, he does, you know, go back. So he takes comparisons. So he talks a little bit about Avatar, but he also goes back to Terminator, which was his sort of first low budget film, except it wasn't actually his first low budget film.
Low budget.
His first low budget film.
Low budget, starring Arnold Schwarzenegger,
and
in the peak of his career.
And he
not quite
prior to his peak,
slightly before, but he was still doing a lot of amazing stuff.
Yeah,
he was still a big deal before Terminator.
So yeah, one issue of course is he goes, you know, we made this low budget film, and the below the line cost was $4 million, which means that wasn't the budget of the film, right? That's the below the line cost, which means that the director's fees, the producer's fees, all the other fees are above the line cost. So actually, it could be $10 million for all we know. So already he's sort of kind of fudging it a little bit by saying below the line cost is $4 million. Well, what's the overall budget, mate? Okay. Secondly, $4 million is actually quite a lot. And it was much more in 1984. Of course, that's a low budget film. Don't get me wrong, but it's not a low budget film like Older, right? We're talking about
$7,000, 7,000 New Zealand dollars. That's like 4,500 American dollars.
Yeah, so we're talking about two different things. So when he did have some like interest, like some good practical advice around low budget shooting. He was sort of like, be very prepared, you know, understand every shot you need to get, work out creative ways to get shots that you know that would be difficult for you to get. If you plan them out first, you're going to have a much better chance. Go out, do your prep, go out and like shoot areas, find locations that are going to work if you have no lights and all that shit. So there was good advice there, don't get me wrong. But it just, again, it's always that thing where it's like, yeah, cool, man. In 1984, when you made a $4 million below the line thing of Terminator, this is what you did. But it's fucking 2021. The rules have changed. Everything's different.
You guys literally didn't have the internet.
You can't even talk about low budget right now. And so I guess that's the disconnect to all of these obviously very successful directors, is that they're talking about things that worked for them 30 years ago when they broke in, which has no relevance to today. And then they're talking about what they're doing today, which has no relevance to any motherfucker that buys this masterclass. Not a single motherfucker that buys this masterclass. Like, Ron Howard didn't buy James Cameron's masterclass, right? I bought James Cameron's masterclass. Bought James Cameron's masterclass, right?
You bought it.
I bought it. I fucking bought James Cameron's masterclass. So, because I want to learn, and I feel like there's such a huge gap between all these things. It's like you actually need, you know, a savage filmmaker to make a masterclass and actually tell you about indie filmmaking in 2020. Not fucking in 1984 when you had $4 million to make the Terminator. But there is some good stuff in there. It's definitely worth a watch. But I just feel this disconnect of like, yeah, when I did movies for Roger Corman. Oh, did you, mate?
Yeah.
Did you 40 years ago make movies with Roger Corman that were kind of cheap and cheerful?
Good for you. Did you know that James Cameron's first low-budget film was Piranha 2, The Spawning, and the budget was 145,786 New Zealand dollars. I just know this. This is just, obviously I'm a big film buff, and I just know this stuff. So, did you know that?
And yes, I did, and that was my other point, is fuck the Terminator. Yeah, the Terminator's awesome. Talk about Piranha 2, because that's the true low-budget film that you did. That's the true break into the industry. This is what I did. And like, this is like, I had this shitty script, I had Piranha 2, but it's like he doesn't even want to acknowledge that Piranha 2 exists. And it's like, no, Piranha 2 is a key cog in your career.
It's a big part of your story, mate.
And you need to not only acknowledge that, but talk about that, because that's actually a true low-budget film without an Arnie and without $4 million below the line. And I would have loved to hear about Piranha 2. But yeah, cut it out of your history. Just cut it out.
So a couple of interesting stories here. Well, shout out to Jay Simon. Hello, Jay. Shout out to you, sir. Welcome to the show. And Jason Pittity Combs says that he took direction from Soderbergh, and he overheard him tell the PA, "Tell those idiots in the cab to stop fucking around." And then the PA told him to stop fucking around. So that's a claim to fame.
And that's good direction too from Steven Soderbergh.
Stop fucking around. And Nocturnal also says that he's known for being difficult. And I can attest to that, having worked with him, having a working relationship with Jim. As he likes to be known. I was, of course, an extra on the original Avatar, and he told me to stand further away from the camera, further back, but he didn't tell me directly. He told me through the AD or somebody. So somebody told me to stand further away from the
Tell
from
the
camera.
bald guy to stand further away from camera.
It was baldism, is what it was.
It was
no. What it was because Pandora is. I can't remember how many years light travel it is, but I think Pandora is something along the lines of 20 light years of travel away from Earth. So at the time, I was only like 22 or something like that. And they were like, what, are we putting two-year-olds on this fucking journey? No, everybody needs to be a little bit older. And so basically I looked too young to be there. Was the issue.
A little kid.
I was too young. You know? So they're like, put that little short bald guy, put him further up the back, the guy with the baby face.
The childish looking bald man.
The childish bald man. So did you know that Harley was in Avatar? That's sort of a quote from the Viva La Dirt League Facebook page, I assume, but I don't know, because everyone's talking about how Rowan was an Avatar on that Facebook page, because he was an extra too. My mate Rowan, actually I didn't see him. He was playing a soldier and you can actually see his face. I was playing a scientist and you can see the back of my bald head. It's not the same. Jason Peter Combs says, "Tell Jay Simon hello from Jason," and they obviously have some sort of working relationship or perhaps a sexual online thing. I'm not sure.
Also, and this is a great point, Nocturnal also says, Roger Corman, who is still making low-budget films, might be a great person to talk to. I think Steven Soderbergh would be the best masterclass because he makes films of all different budget levels. He's very, he's made a film with an iPhone, like a whole feature film with an iPhone. He's really into sort of stripping everything back and minimalist and kind of employing all the approaches that you would as an independent filmmaker. And so I really think that he would have some great advice. But yeah, some of James Cameron's advice was good, and it was cool to see him sort of reflect back on, aliens and stuff like that and talk about some of his editing techniques and all that. So it's definitely worth a watch, but I'm definitely sort of still a bit of a hater on this idea of low budget $4 million Terminator.
Jezza Housen says that Tony Hawk has a good masterclass, and that's obviously what I was thinking about. Tony Hawk
Learning
having a masterclass,
teaching you how to skate.
Not Rodney Mullen. But Rodney Mullen did do a TEDx talk or a TED talk as well.
Did he teach people how to skate in it?
I think he probably taught people the lessons you can learn from skateboarding, such as dedication, commitment, and these types of
Getting
things.
drunk, throwing tantrums when you can't land a trick, and being annoying to everyone around you when you can't land a trick.
I wouldn't say that skateboarders are drunk necessarily.
No, just occasionally getting drunk.
Well, I mean, we all occasionally get drunk.
Well, I'm getting drunk at the skate park.
Yeah, well, I occasionally get drunk at the skate park, but now I'm 38, and they're like, "Get away from me, old man!"
And they're like, "Stop hanging out at the skate park."
Stop! Oh man, I remember when I was younger, there was sometimes older guys that would hang out at the park, and truthfully, they were not pedophiles. They were just, skaters and just guys and stuff like that. But of course, when I was a teenager, I was like, "What's up with the old pedo, man?"
Yeah, well, there was that guy that used to film everyone. And we were like, God, that is a weird, creepy old dude. We were like, that guy is so creepy. He's definitely a pedo.
Yeah.
And
pedophile Jimmy.
Yeah, and we were like...
Pedophile Jimmy, as he was known.
And we were like, what's wrong with this man?
Yeah.
And it's like, the reality was, The
The reality was he was 22.
a pedophile.
The reality was
Was he 22?
no, probably he wasn't. He
wasn't 40. Is that what you're saying?
I think that we just thought he was an old man, but
Right.
actually he was actually just not really actually that old. And he also would often give away old he had a bunch of skateboards in his car that he would give away if he didn't need them type thing.
Yeah.
Like not necessarily new ones, but just kind of old
You'd
ones.
have to get into the car to get them, though.
Well, the thing is, he gave me a ride home one time, and the sex was fully consensual. No, he didn't.
You agreed to everything.
He did give me a ride home, and that was it. And also I asked a bunch of people about him. People that knew him better than me, and they were like, "Nah, he's a real cool guy." He's totally
I
cool.
think he was just a guy trying to film skaters.
Yeah.
As in because he wanted to make skate videos, but he himself was no longer a skater.
Yeah,
But we assumed that he was an old pedo.
yeah,
And definitely
an old 22-year-old pedo.
disgusting.
I have no idea how old he was. Shout out to him.
I feel like he was in his 40s.
I think he was in his 30s probably, but to me that looked like his 50s.
Right.
Yeah.
Jimmy.
Something like that.
It was, I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah, well, look, I think I'm out of topics.
Yeah, well, that's good because I've got shit to do.
Cool. Well, look, it's...
I've got to take down the camera that's filming us.
Yeah.
And pack it down with a bunch of other shit for a shoot tomorrow, where I hope my camera doesn't break mid-shoot.
Well,
again.
did you get your camera fixed? Or what was the conclusion
This
there?
is what sent me into a bit of a rage.
Yeah.
Is that...
So you've still got the same camera? The camera that died?
The camera has been sent away to be fixed.
Okay.
It has not been fixed yet. Mm-hmm. I got an email from them saying, hey... do you think it's just your battery?
He's like, I don't know, mate. Isn't that your job to literally put in another battery and check it?
Well, I was like, no, motherfucker. I didn't just give you a fucking thing because I didn't check the battery.
Yeah.
You know.
You go, hey guys, cancel the shoot. I forgot to check the battery. But fuck it. I'm not even going to check the battery.
In fact, look, it's
battery's
not
dead.
working. So the first thing I'm not going to do is check the battery.
I'm going to spend my money to courier this away to get repaired again.
So yeah, I was definitely like, look, we checked with multiple different batteries, and they're like, well, he can't find anything wrong with it, so he's thinking maybe it's your battery system. I'm literally using that battery system on the shoot with the camera you loaned me, so it's not a fucking problem. But also, this is what really pissed me off, is like, I didn't want that to happen. Like, I didn't want them to kind of accuse, like, not that I necessarily thought it was going to happen. I thought they'd just go, yeah, there's something fucked with it, we've got to fix it. But I didn't want to come in and like make them guess. I wanted to come in, show them how it didn't work, show them that there was no way it was me being a dumbass, which I did. So when I went into the store, I was like, so this is
what you were not going to talk about before, right? This is what earlier on you were not going to badmouth them.
So I went into the store, I was like, here's battery 1, see it's not working. Here's another battery, battery 2, see not working. Here is a V-mount battery, different solution plugged into a different way. This is how I normally do it. You can see there's charge on that battery, not working. Let's just for the sake of it, let's put a different V-mount in there. Here's another V-mount battery, not working again. Okay, so we know there's something wrong, right? And they're like, yep, we'll get it sent away. And then the first thing is, hey, we think it's your battery. Yeah, the battery wasn't charged, so we think that's the problem. And it's like, fuck's sake.
Yeah.
But it's also... it's two different stores.
Yeah.
So the store that asked me that question was not the store that I showed them all the different
things
so they
not working. They
working.
didn't know. So their first assumption was...
Yeah. And then
It's just the battery. But why would you even email you about that, though? Because if your job is to fix cameras and the camera gets sent to you, presumably you have got batteries, because that's probably quite a common thing that does happen. And presumably you would take a battery and go, oh, it's not working. But why? But instead they emailed you about it.
Yeah, well...
doesn't make sense.
Well, allegedly their story is they essentially, they got it. There was a battery inside it. They turned it on, they go, it's flat. They took the battery out, charged it, put it back in, it's working. That's their story.
But wait. They charged your battery and put it back in and it started working.
Yeah.
Well, that is quite damning.
Yeah.
That is quite damning.
Yeah, but we tested it with another battery.
Yeah.
And a V-mount battery was actually what I use it
Well,
with.
plus presumably on the day when it first shit itself, your first thought was, "Oh shit, I didn't know I needed a battery change.
Exactly.
I better pop in the fully charged battery."
Yeah, 3 different times.
Yeah, exactly.
And then I was like, and in fact, I was like, okay, it's not working with any of the regular batteries. Let me try the other, So it just pisses me off. And then I called them today, and they were like, "Yeah, we've heard," because I was like, "Is that coming back?" Because I sent that away like a week and a half ago, and they're like, "Oh, they're waiting to do more tests," and I was like, "How many more fucking tests? What's the test that you could possibly do more?"
You go, "Yep, doesn't work."
So anyway, classic black magic.
Well,
I'll be talking about it in my YouTube video.
Jason Combs says, "Please keep tech chat to a
Tech jab chat.
Tech jab chat to 5 minutes, please." So obviously,
Time to wrap it up.
That's the great thing about this show. It's something for everyone. You got jab chat, you got tech chat, you've got dick jokes, fart jokes, cum jokes, and everything in between. I have a similar, just a very quick but similar related, camera story, which is that I had to send away my camera, which I normally use for my live streams to make them look beautiful. It's nothing too special. It's a Canon 250D, but I like it. It served me well for a year and a half or so, and it stopped working. And so I sent it back to Canon. They fixed it up. They sent it back to me. I plugged it in, and it started working and then immediately stopped. So I had to send it all the way back to them again, couriering it to them. So that's a waste of my money. But they did say that they would refix it for free. So hopefully that's all good. It might be something. Don't tell anybody down at Canon, okay? But it might be.
Don't mention it's the Canon.
It might be something to do with my non-Canon AC adapter that I use to plug it in.
Your cheap Chinese
it is literally cheap. It's literally from China.
Canon adapter, which is
non-Canon AC adapter,
which obviously they do not confirm as usable with it, as in it's not a Canon approved.
No, absolutely not. But it did work.
It's Canon unapproved.
It worked. Yeah. The Canon recommend not using it.
Yeah.
It did work for a year and a half. So I was like, well, look. So what I've done is I've ordered a new one of those AC things. I've sent this puppy to be a way to be fixed, and hopefully I'll get another year and a half out of it. And then if I do get my year and a half out of it, well, that's my $800 or $1,000 or however much a Canon 250D costs. That's all worth it. Although it did cost me $500 to repair it. So on $500 to repair it, we will wrap up this show. Thank you so much for listening. It's been a lot of fun. We did have a bit of feedback from Tyler, who said that this is a fantastic episode this week. He's looking forward to catching the first half, which he missed. So do go back and check it out. And if you guys are out there and you want to help us, make sure you watch it on the YouTube channel. That really, really helps us. Go and watch this episode and other episodes on our YouTube channel. Just search for the Guy and Harley podcast, because we're trying to get our view time up so that we can monetize the channel. If we can monetize the channel, then this show maybe can start paying for itself. And we might even be able to start paying Tyler, the VFX creator, to start helping us, get a bunch of stuff done, which would be super cool. So please go along and watch our stuff on YouTube and subscribe to it. Also go to patreon.com/Pigville, and you can give us $1 a month if you want to, or more. You can give us whatever you want, and we will put that towards our various expenses, and that's all super helpful for us. It makes a really big difference. It's $1 to you, but when a bunch of people do it, it all adds up, and it makes a big difference to us, and it really does pay for a lot of our expenses. So thank you to our Patreon supporters. Facebook.com/Guy and Harley. Go along and hit like. We post random other stuff, all the things we talk about on the show. We talk about them. We post them right there, and also all of this talk about investing today, make sure you check out the links in the description if you're keen on getting into that investing, and use those, and we will get I'll get paid, not we. I personally will get paid, and you will get paid. Guy misses out on that one. So yeah, that's all I've really got to say, apart from
it's a great question, but we have to leave it till last time.
No, next time you mean.
Yeah.
What's up with Harley's love life? Is he going to find someone to shack up with before Omicron hits? That is an excellent question, Jason.
Omicron Prime.
Jason P. Diddy Combs. And we will have to talk about that another time.
Another time, which may not be the next time.
One day.
Because I don't want to incriminate myself.
Harley doesn't talk about current affairs, okay? This is my rule for the show. I don't talk about current affairs, whether it's a romantic thing or whether it's a flatting situation or a work situation. Generally speaking, I don't delve into any types of details until after the fact, after it's all gone horribly wrong. Then I mine it for comedy and present it to the listeners. So yeah, Harley doesn't talk about current affairs. And on current affairs, thank you very much for listening. Good night.
See you later.
Waiting. 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 Waiting.
Shouldn't it? Why would it say we will be starting soon?
Oh, that should be the other one. That should be the other one. That should be the other one. And also the outro. I'm trying to play the outro. Here we go.
You've been listening to the Guy and Harley podcast, proudly brought to you by Pigville Productions.
See you later, everybody.
Laugh it up, fuzzball.
We'll be starting soon.